Hello dear viewers, support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it, and also make sure you comment your thoughts. Now let's start the video. I was sitting between Dad and Charlie in the stands of Bella's school, watching her graduation ceremony. Honestly, it was pretty typical and boring. However, I knew that Bella was excited to graduate, and as her name was called, Charlie and I both stood and all three of us cheered loudly. I know it bothered Charlie that she wasn't going directly to college, but she agreed to live with him while she continued at Newton's. She knew she would work there throughout the summer, but didn't really have any idea what she wanted to do after that. It didn't really feel like something she wanted to do long term, but there weren't a whole lot of other options either. I took the opportunity of just being with Charlie to talk to him about dating Bella this summer. "Hey Charlie," I said to him after we sat back down from cheering for Bella. "I was wanting to talk to you about something," I said nervously, even though I knew he would approve of me. I just didn't know what I was supposed to be saying. "Sure, what's up?" "Well, Bella has agreed to let me date her, and I wanted to start actually taking her out." "Good for you, kid," Charlie said, pleased. "Honestly, it's about time." "Thanks," I smiled, his reaction allowing me to relax. "I know you will, but take good care of her, and always treat her with respect." "I will." He lightly patted my shoulder. "Then we won't have a problem." Neither of us said any more, however, I could tell that he really appreciated the gesture of me talking to him. When the ceremony was over, I went down with Charlie. It was going to be difficult to get Dad's chair through all the people, so he agreed to wait in the stands for us to come back for him. As we wandered through the crowd, people kept coming up and speaking with Charlie, so I left him to find Bella. I could see her giving hugs to some of her friends. Unfortunately, I hadn't really had much of a chance to meet most of them. There was a short girl with brown hair that was so bubbly and excited. Bella gave her a pathetic smile. It was clear that the girl thought she was a better friend to Bella than Bella thought of her. Next was Mike. He lifted her off the ground and pressed her tightly to his chest. It looked like he was taking advantage of the opportunity to hold her as he pressed his hands into her back. Bella saw me over his shoulder and mouthed help to me. I smirked at her awkwardness, and then changed, and put on my pack face. I knew exactly how to be intimidating if I needed to be. I came up right behind him so that my height towered over him. "If you want to keep those arms, I suggest you take them off my girl." I saw him jump in surprise and actually squeezed her a little tighter before dropping her to the ground. She didn't fall, but stumbled towards me. "Jacob," Mike squeaked out, as he looked up at me. I didn't see you there." I was about to say some sarcastic comment about how I blend in so well with these tiny pale faces, but instead Bella leaned up, wrapping her arms around my neck and kissed me. It seemed that she had a different idea of sending a message, and it was fine by me. I lifted her up to be able to reach her easier, and plunged my tongue into her mouth, and we twirled them around each other until we heard Charlie clear his throat. Bella ducked her head into my neck, embarrassed, until I placed her back on her feet. I smiled at Charlie and then handed her over to him so that he could congratulate his daughter. "Hey, I'm Angela." She was a tall girl with light brown hair. "Bella has told me a lot about you." I reached out to shake her hand. "Nice to meet you. I hope she had good things to say." She smiled. "Very good." She shook my hand. "Wow, you're hot," she said, and then blushed, and opened her mouth like she wanted to clarify but was tongue-tied. I laughed. "Yeah, I get that a lot." We were both silent for a minute, but it felt sort of awkward. "Congrats on graduating," I stammered. "Thanks. Are you out of school too?" "Just for the summer." "Are you coming to Mike's graduation party with Bella?" "I don't know anything about it." I shrugged to make it seem like not a big deal, but it made me really curious about why Bella hadn't mentioned it. "I was planning to talk to you about that this afternoon," Bella said. Charlie and Bella had finished their moment, and I could tell that she was ready to go, so that the attention wouldn't be on her any longer. "It was really nice to meet you, Angela. We are going to go head out." I mentioned. "You too," she said to me, and then turned to Bella and gave her a quick hug. "If you change your mind about going tonight, please give me a call." "Will do." We told Charlie that we were going to get Dad and meet him at the car, and Bella got his car keys from him before we walked away. I wasn't sure whether to bring up the whole party with Mike or wait for her to talk about it herself. "Sorry, you found out about the party like that." "Yeah, that was sort of weird," I admitted. "I wasn't planning on going, but Mike cornered me when we were lining up today, and I felt like I would hurt his feelings to say no." You've always been a sucker for puppy dog eyes. She rolled her eyes. Will you come with me? It will be so much better with you there. Sure, I'll make out with you in front of Mike each chance I get. I laughed. Bella pushed my shoulder and blushed. Be nice. What? You totally started that today. I know, she said, still blushing. We made it back to Dad and got him loaded in Charlie's cruiser, and soon Charlie met us and insisted that he treat us all for lunch at the lodge. We got out of the car and Bella unzipped her graduation gown, leaving it in the car. It was the first time that I saw what she was wearing. She had a silk hunter green button-up shirt with sleeves that came just past her elbows. The material gathered around her chest and flattened at her stomach, and a straight khaki skirt that ended just at her knees and dark brown boots that came up her legs just below her knees. You look beautiful and sexy as hell, but I didn't think that would be appropriate to say. Thank you. Alice insisted on taking me shopping for graduation. You went shopping with Alice? I said, surprised that she went, and surprised that she didn't tell me before now. The host brought us to a table, which I was thankful for. My long legs were uncomfortable in a booth, not to mention Dad's chair is easier at a table rather than a booth. The restaurant was crowded and we were surrounded by half the town also wanting a nice place to eat after graduation. Yeah, I know I shouldn't have kept seeing Alice from you, but I didn't want you to freak out. Bella continued, after we sat at the table. Bella, trying really hard not to freak out. I don't want you to have to keep that sort of thing from me. I don't like you hanging out with them, but I would much rather know about it than find out after the fact. Okay, no more secrets, she conceded. We ordered our food and Dad tried to get Charlie to let him pay for him and myself, but Charlie refused and said that it would be part of his gift to Bella. That reminded me of the gift for Bella that I had in my pocket. It was not like I needed the reminder, it was in my front pocket, and I would touch it each time I stuck my hand in my pocket, which I did a little more than normal. I believe that Bella began to notice because she started watching me a little closer. What's in your pocket, Jake? She asked, when she couldn't handle the curiosity any longer. Our dads had started talking baseball, and it seemed that they weren't paying much attention to us. I got you a present. I just wasn't sure when you wanted it. Let me see. She smiled a nervous smile and bit her bottom lip. I could see her anxiety over presents. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a silver chain link bracelet with a wooden charm. It was round and smooth on the top with pointed round edges to be the rays of the sun. As I watched her fingers trace the edges of each ray, I thought of the process it took to create it. I knew that I wanted to make something for Bella and thought that wood would be the perfect solution, but I wasn't sure what type of wood to use. I had been walking along the beach when I saw the driftwood tree that I usually sat on with Bella and decided to sit down to think. I wanted this to be more than just a graduation present. It was also the start of our dating life, and so I wanted it to be personal. I looked down at the driftwood bench and broke one of the branches and smiled, knowing that it has always been a special tree to me, and thought it would be perfect. I grabbed the pocket knife from my shorts and began to whittle the branch until it was about the length of my palm, and I decided that I would continue to carve it with my dad's tools at home. I went home and started working, not really sure what I wanted to make, but as my fingers moved and carved, I started to notice the shape of the sun break forth from the wood. It took the rest of the afternoon and into the evening for the size to be complete. It was just over an inch, and then I started working on the details of each ray of light. It was very time-consuming, but when it was finished, I was really proud. I remembered Bella calling me her son, and I could easily see myself represented in the form. Dad had all kinds of wood stain, and I found several, starting dark red in the center and getting lighter to yellow on the edges. As I was finishing the final coat of stain, Dad rolled in. "Oh, Jake, you scared me. I didn't realize you were home," he said, taking a deep breath. "Sorry, Dad. I have been in here a while. Let me see what you are working on." I lifted the sun and dropped it in the palm of his hand. "I know it isn't as good as what you can do." He ran his fingers over it and looked closely at the details. "No, Jake, you did really good. It just seems sort of random." "Well, it's for Bella, you know, graduation present." "That makes more sense. What do you plan to do with it?" "I haven't quite gotten that far yet."
"Come follow me."
He sat the piece in his lap and rolled to his room. On the dresser was my mom's jewelry box. He opened the lid and pulled out a silver chain bracelet. "What do you think?" "Are you sure?" I wasn't really sure if her bracelet was significant to him or really what other things he had of hers. He shrugged. "I don't need it, and I don't think your sisters will care. That would be perfect, thanks. He rolled back to his tools and looked around until he found a tiny screw with a loop on the end and took the sun and carefully screwed it into the top ray. Then he put a little sealant around the screw to hold it securely in place and attached it to the bracelet. Thanks, Dad. It really did look perfect, and I hoped that when she saw it on her wrist, it would give her the opportunity to think about me more. Wow, Jake, it is beautiful, Bella said in amazement, bringing me back to the present. But you really didn't need to buy me anything. I didn't. I made the charm and Dad gave me the bracelet. She had a real smile on her face, and I could tell it really did make her happy as she ran her fingers over the wood, amazed as the links softly clinked together. Was this your mother's? Yes. Help me to put it on. She reached out her wrist and I circled it around her, and closed the clasp. Thank you, she beamed, and leaned over for a kiss. I gently pressed my lips to hers. You are very welcome. I caught Dad's eyes and he was looking at the bracelet on her wrist and smiled. Thanks to you too, Billy. She leaned over and kissed his cheek. I could have swore I saw him blush before he coughed out a, "You were welcome," and our food arrived, saving us all from having to say much more, and we settled into a comfortable silence. All three of us guys ordered steak, fully loaded baked potatoes, and grilled vegetables. Bella had a smothered chicken with BBQ sauce and cheese, and the same baked potato and vegetables. She was only able to eat half of the chicken and potatoes, so I finished the other half for her, and we ordered cherry cobbler for us and some kind of sugar-free cake for Dad. We went back to Bella's house, and I stayed downstairs while she changed out of her graduation clothing into her usual skinny jeans and simple, yet nice purple shirt. It wasn't too much longer, and it was time to go to Mike's party. It wasn't until we got in the Rabbit that she told me it was actually going to be on First Beach. I immediately felt better knowing that it was going to be in familiar territory, and Bella confirmed that was the only reason she finally agreed, because she could easily escape if needed. Bella told me how her usual crowd consisted of Angela and Ben. They were dating Jessica, who Bella tolerated but said she was more of a gossip than a friend. Lauren, who really didn't like Bella at all, who had just broken up with Tyler, and of course Mike. We made it to the beach, and Bella made simple introductions, and it felt odd seeing the eyes of Jessica and Lauren linger up and down my body. Jessica held my hand longer than needed when I shook her hand, and Lauren threw her arms around my neck, rubbing her chest against me, claiming that she was a hugger and didn't shake hands. To say it was awkward would be an understatement. It was so clear what she was offering that it should have been embarrassing. It wasn't like I had never been hit on, but not by someone quite so bold. At one point I almost heard Bella growling, and Lauren glared as I pulled her off me and stepped back, putting my arm around Bella's waist. We walked over to the bonfire and chatted with her actual friends, talking about what they planned to do this summer and what college they would be going to. It was all pretty basic and ordinary. Bella sat in my lap for most of the evening, and I had one arm around her waist and the other rested on her knees. I could tell why she was such good friends with Angela and Ben. They were both easy to like, and so was Mike when he wasn't hitting on Bella when she would get up to get us more food or drink. Every time Bella got up, Jessica, who was sitting next to us, would scoot a little closer to me, leaning against me. "Cut it out," I whispered to Jessica. I didn't really want to cause a scene, but she was driving me crazy. "Come on, Jake. You could do so much better than her." "It's Jacob, and you have no idea how great Bella is. There isn't anyone better than Bella for me. I just don't see how she does it." She sighed, annoyed. "Does what?" Why I was actually encouraging this conversation, I had no idea. Gets all the attention of the most gorgeous guys ever. First it was Edward, and oh my god, the way that he would look at her. She started rambling like crazy, and it was clearly my cue to ignore her once again. About that time, Lauren would make some excuse to come talk to me, and made sure to bend over, so that any fool could see down her shirt. It is not like she wasn't attractive, but she knew it, and the way she flaunted herself just made her come across as sleazy. When Bella would sit back down, I could feel her irritation growing more and more. Finally, I had enough. "Bells, I'll be right back." "What? Are you crazy? You can't leave me here." "They aren't going to bite." She rolled her eyes and glared. "Just trust me." I kissed her soundly, until we were both a little short of breath, and then I slipped her off my lap and stood to leave. She did not look pleased with me leaving, so I ran quickly to my house and called Quill. "Hey buddy," I said to him, after he answered. "I need a favor." "Name it." "Well, it involves 2 girls, so I need you to grab Embry and meet me at my house." Say no more. He quickly hung up, and within seconds, both of them were here. I explained what was going on, and they were both excited. Quill parked himself in front of Lauren, and Embry sat next to Jessica. It didn't take long for Lauren to start making out with Quill. I saw her looking at me at times, so I think she was trying to make me jealous, but that wasn't going to happen, and Quill didn't care. He was just excited to be getting something. Jessica, not wanting to be outdone, quickly got in Embry's lap, and soon they were going at it as well. With those girls occupied, Bella was able to relax and enjoy the time with the rest of her friends. After a while, all conversations sort of died down, and couples started pairing off. Both Embry and Quill disappeared. While Bella didn't mind light kisses in front of her friends, she felt like people stared at us enough without adding making out to it, so we decided to go for a walk along the beach. We both took our shoes off, but avoided the water because I knew it would make Bella cold this late in the evening. We came to our driftwood bench and sat down together. I put my arm across her shoulders and she leaned against my chest. "Did you have a good time?" Bella asked.
Sure.
I shrugged. "It was nice to meet your friends. Will you be seeing much of them this summer?" "I'm not sure. I'm trying to get Angela to work with me at Newton's. And that would be great."
I can see where you would enjoy that. It was getting late, and I could feel her lean more into me, so I turned to scoop her up and placed her in my lap. She wrapped her arms around my neck and began to kiss me. I loved that it wasn't always me having to initiate our kissing. I knew that I would be able to kiss her for days and never get enough. Apparently Bella was pretty much thinking the same thing. As we kissed and kissed, she pulled herself tighter to my chest, and I brought my hands to her waist and back. Her hands sunk into my hair, causing her shirt to rise up in the back, and my fingers could feel her smooth skin at the small of her back. Her skin was like fine silk as I ran my hands in a large circle just below her bra strap, along her lower back and waist. Coming up for air, Bella paused for a moment. Her bracelet dangled from her wrist, resting against my shoulder. "Thanks for my present," she smiled. I smiled back at her. "You are very welcome," and we kissed again. Summer was in full swing, and life was really busy for Bella and I both, between working and adjusting to no longer having school and the free time that it provides. At work, Jackie has been great, teaching me what needs to be done for the cabins, working the register at the gift store, and general stocking. We worked really well together, and we both really enjoy each other's company. I still haven't worked out a way for Jackie and Bella to meet each other. I wasn't keeping them apart for any particular reason. It just wasn't working out. When I wasn't working or with Bella, I was patrolling, so despite really wanting to, it hasn't worked out for Bella and I to have our official first date. I'm not really sure why it was so important to me. Maybe it was just to prove that I could be a real boyfriend, and that includes going on dates. It didn't seem to be a big deal to Bella either way, which seems strange for me, because I assumed that was a big deal for girls. We were dividing our time, when we weren't working, between La Push in her house and Forks. Today it was Forks. I knew tomorrow Bella was going to be working, and I had patrols overnight tonight. "Bells, I want to take you out tomorrow." "You know you don't have to do that," came her usual response. "Yes, I do, and I want to. It is about time for us to be actually dating, instead of just saying we're together." "Actually, I think a date sounds great." "Really?" "Why? I don't know. I guess just a break from normal life." "Great. What time do you want me to come pick you up?" "How about 4 o'clock? That will give me time to get ready after work." "Sounds perfect." Now that it was settled, we decided to spend the rest of the evening curled up on the couch, watching a movie. Bella and I had pretty different tastes in movies, with her preferring more of the classics and myself more typical guy movies. So we took turns picking. Tonight was Bella's turn, so it was Pride and Prejudice. At least it was the new version, but that really didn't make it more interesting. So I would entertain myself by watching Bella watch the movie and by running my fingers through her hair. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to keep me from falling asleep, and I woke up several hours later when Charlie came home. It was really great being so comfortable around Charlie. He was completely supportive of me, spending time with Bella, and never seemed to be surprised at me being in his house. Bella had made dinner while I was napping, and so I joined them, and then I needed to get home and spend some time with my dad. We had a quiet evening, and I put him to bed, and then came out for patrols. It was always hard being so close to Bella, but not really able to be with her. However, Bella was still an active dreamer, and it was nice that I was usually starring in them. Sometimes she still mentioned the Cullens, but I hoped that they would leave again after things with Victoria were settled.
I was out with Leah. She was not near as difficult as she used to be, and while I understood her issues, she has remained very leery of my relationship with Bella. We all knew that she had been really messed up by imprinting, and so she didn't think that any of us should be in a serious relationship, herself included. At the same time, she really wanted to be able to quit phasing and be able to settle down with a life of her own. Even though I knew that I wanted to take Bella out, I wasn't completely sure what I should do and how much I should plan out every detail or just go with the flow. Plan it out, you dork, Leah rudely suggested.
How do I know what she wants to do?
Try to make it different than what you do every day. You seem really nervous. Is this your first date ever, Jake? Yeah, and sometimes I worry that I'm not good enough for her. That's crazy. What makes you think that? I know that I shouldn't compare myself to Edward, but sometimes I don't feel like I can compete. She rolled her eyes. Jake, don't you see? You're not competing against him, and if you were, you already won. It's you that she is dating. That's not what I meant. I know that I'm with her, and it is me she wants to be with. But I can't take her to expensive places or buy her gifts the way that he could. I thought Bella didn't really like expensive presents. Besides, what makes you think he took her to expensive places? He isn't even able to eat with her at all. I couldn't see how that was a big deal at all, and wasn't sure what that point was. Let me tell you, coming from a girl, that would have sucked, to be around a guy who constantly watches her eat. It would have made me extremely self-conscious. I never once thought about the possibility of Leah being self-conscious, even before she phased. She has always been beautiful, and just like phasing enhances our muscles and made us toned, it did the same for her. Glad you don't have that problem hanging around us. We are always eating. Yeah, that is one problem that I don't have. I'm sorry that you have to deal with the rumors. Being the only girl in the pack has pretty much shattered her reputation, with most assuming that she was messing around with all of us. And so she knew that most likely she would have to go away to be able to find someone that would take her seriously. Whenever she walked around, she got lots of catcalls from random men and daggers thrown at her from the women. It was not easy for her at all. Thanks, Jake. We spent the rest of the evening planning out what I wanted to. Well, not really planning. I would come up with ideas, and Letta would shoot most of them down. But by the end of our shift, I think I had everything pretty much figured out. I pulled up to Bella's house. Even though the action was completely normal, the butterflies in my stomach were not, and I felt sort of jittery as I knocked on her front door. I had gotten into the habit of letting myself in, but I wasn't sure if that was appropriate, so I decided to wait. I brushed my hands down my dark denim jeans and red and black plaid shirt. When I got my job, I also needed more clothes, so Dad and I had gone shopping, something neither of us enjoyed, so it was quick and simple, but now I was thankful that I had some nicer clothes to wear. Charlie opened the door. Hey, Jake. Charlie? I was a little surprised that he was home. I'm going over to your dad's to watch the game. I want her home by midnight. If it is going to be any later, just call me, so I don't worry. Yes, sir. Charlie smiled. You don't have to do that. I appreciate the respect, but you can call me Charlie just like any other time. Thanks. I think he could tell that I was a little nervous in trying to make it easier, which it did. It really was fantastic that Charlie and I got along so well. I heard Bella's door open and looked that direction to see her coming down the stairs. She had on very tight black leggings that came to her calf that made her legs look long and sexy, and a loose turquoise shiny shirt that ended at her hips, and soft sleeves that came around her shoulders. Her hair was down around her shoulders with soft curls throughout, and her face was clean with just a little shine on her lips. It must be some kind of lip gloss. Instantly I wanted to know what flavor it was, and knew it was going to be my new favorite. I knew I was staring, but I couldn't help it. Bella was always beautiful to me, but I have never seen her so put together and sexy. Stop staring, Bella mumbled quietly when she got to the bottom of the step. As you wish. I reached out my hand and she took it. Charlie followed us out and got in his own car, and I lead her to the passenger side of mine and opened the door for her as she sat inside. I walked around and we started going. At the first red light that we came to, I leaned over and kissed her lips. Bella giggled and kissed me back quickly. What was that for? She asked once we started moving again. I was just dying to kiss you since you came down the stairs and didn't want to wait any longer. By the way, your lip gloss is fantastic. Bella blushed and ducked her head down. Her lip gloss was a fantastic coconut flavor that seemed to go perfectly with the strawberry scent that I always associated with Bella. "So where are we going?" Bella asked. "Port Angles for dinner first." "That sounds good. I haven't been there in a while." I got nervous thinking maybe she used to go with Edward. "Did you go there very often?" "No, I've only been a couple times." She paused for a moment, and I could tell she had a memory that she wasn't sharing. "However, if it won't mess up your plans, I would love to go to the bookstore there." I could tell that she was trying to keep it light. "Why does Port Angles make you nervous?" "It doesn't," she lied. "Bella, don't lie to me. It's just that I have had some weird things happen to me there. I heard Edward's voice in my head for the first time there, and I was almost attacked when I got lost, until Edward found me." "Geez, should we go somewhere else?" "No, not at all. I trust you. Nothing will happen." "Did Edward take you out much?" I needed to ask for the sake of my sanity. "No, not at all. We mostly just hung out at either my house or his. It didn't bother me at the time, but I hadn't realized how isolated him being a vampire made us. There was only one restaurant that we ate at, and that meeting was sort of by accident. At home I was used to him watching me eat, but out in public it was weird, so we just stayed to ourselves." I took a deep breath. It was good to know that I wasn't needing to worry about that. "Why did you ask?" Bella wondered. "I guess I was just worried that I wasn't going to be able to compete with things he could give you." She smacked her hand against my shoulder. "Jake, you should know me better than that." "I do, but you don't understand the pressure that can be on me. I want to be able to make everything perfect." "Well, so far so good." She smiled and held my hand the rest of the drive to Port Angels. It was a warm day, which was a great contrast from the 3 straight days of rain that we have been having. Now that summer was here, the trees were full of big leafy leaves, and so everything was just so vivid and green with bright yellow and purple wildflowers lining the road as we traveled. The rest of the drive was filled with easy conversation, as we relaxed and began to settle into our normal selves. As I pulled into town, we stopped by the bookstore, and she made a couple purchases, and then we went to the small steak and seafood restaurant that my family has gone to several times. It was actually owned and fully staffed by one of my mother's cousins, Victor, and his wife Ashley, and their 6 kids. It was a 2-story red brick building with white window frames with a round arch over each window. Inside has solid wood floors, and the tables have a white cloth covering the surface with a candle in the middle. One wall was completely made of glass and featured a fantastic view of the harbor. I came to a stop in the parking lot and started to get out of the car, and Bella did the same. "Sit down, woman." "What?" Bella said, astonished. "How am I supposed to be a gentleman to you and get your door if you don't let me?" Bella shook her head, but smiled as she closed her own door again and placed her hands in her lap. I smiled and quickly walked around, opened her door, and offered a hand to help her out of the car. "Thank you," I told her. "You're welcome."
Have I told you you look beautiful?
She shook her head. "Well, I should have, but that wouldn't have been enough." "You look hot." Bella blushed. Alice again. "You know, that one isn't so bad," I laughed, "especially if she keeps dressing you like this." She blushed deeper and bumped my shoulder with her own. We walked inside. A bell rang over our heads, and Bella looked around at the pictures and small decorations that lined the walls. "I'll be with you in a moment. Please seat yourselves," came a voice from the other room. So Bella and I found a small table that was in the corner of the restaurant that looked out over the harbor. "Jacob," I looked up and saw my cousin Elizabeth. She has been away at college for the past several years, so we haven't seen each other in a while. She was wearing all black with a white apron around her waist. She was beautiful with lighter skin than my own, and bright blue eyes from her mother and the traditional black hair from her father that was braided down her back. "Yep, how are you?" I smiled at her. "My goodness, I have heard of a growth spurt, but you are huge." "Yeah." I looked back at Bella, and she was sort of confused, and I realized that I have not introduced them. "Bella, this is my cousin Elizabeth. Elizabeth, this is Bella." "Nice to meet you," Elizabeth said to Bella. "Here are your menus. I'll be with you in a moment." "Thank you," Bella acknowledged. We looked over the menu for a few minutes, and ordered, "Does it really not bother you that I'm friends with Alice?" "I don't know," I answered honestly. "Of course I would rather you be with Angela, or someone else, but I have always known how much she means to you. You told me once that you loved her. Is that still true?" "Yes," Bella said softly. "She has always been like a sister to me." Then I wanted to not bother me, but you're going to have to give me more time, and be realistic. I don't think it will be possible for me to be her friend. I'm okay with that, if you are. We were quiet for a moment, as Elizabeth sat bread on the table, as well as our salads.
Do you see Edward when you see Alice?
I almost didn't ask, but I knew that the question would just gnaw on my brain until I finally did. Sometimes, but mostly just in passing. Do you say anything to each other? She shrugged. I really don't think there is anything left to say. I'm not angry with him anymore, but it is just different. Would you ever take him back? My stomach tightened in fear of her response, and I took a drink of water to try and calm my nerves. No, I don't think so. I feel it is a little too hypothetical to know for sure, but I don't have any plans to take him back. We continued to talk to each other as our meal was served. I had steak and she ordered fish, saying that she was always looking for new ways to cook all the fish that Charlie brought home, followed with banana cream pie for dessert. As we ate, the sun began to set, and the oranges and pinks reflected off the water as well as Bella's pale skin. There was nothing more beautiful. By the time we left, we were both full, and I was glad that Bella was able to meet a little more of my family. We walked a few blocks over to the school, and we went to the swings, and I pushed her, and then sat in the swing next to her. We continued to laugh and talk to each other, and everything was going great, until suddenly Bella launched herself out of the swing, landing awkwardly in the pebbly sand. Bella. I jumped out, landing next to her. What were you thinking? Bella clutched her stomach and began laughing. I just wanted to see if I still could. Could what? Try and find a new way to kill yourself. No, silly. She looked over and seemed to read the panic and confusion on my face. You don't remember, do you? Remember what? You taught me how to jump out of a swing. I did? When? I was 7 and you were 5, and our dads took me and your sisters to the park in Forks, and you spent the whole time trying to convince me to jump out of my swing and kept giving me demonstration after demonstration. I was too scared, until I decided that if you could then I could too. Wait, I sort of remember, didn't you sprain your ankle? I never said you were a good teacher. She smiled and tried to push me over. Oh, I don't think so. I pushed her over instead and began to tickle her stomach, and she kicked, wiggled, and screamed, trying to get me to stop. Unfortunately, I am even more ticklish than she is, and soon she had easily won this war, with me on my back and her draped over my chest when we had both had enough tickling. She took a deep breath and laid her head on my shoulder, and I wrapped my arms around her. For a moment, we both relaxed into the comfort of my embrace, not needing to really say or do anything. Bella propped herself on her forearms, still draped across my chest. I had a great time tonight. Great. Me too. I leaned up and kissed her lips, tasting the sweet coconut gloss that I had been curious about from the start. Her lips were always so cold compared to my own, and so incredibly soft and smooth that once I started, I didn't want to do anything but continue to kiss her. She kissed me back with more passion than I have ever felt before, and she rubbed her arms over my shoulders and biceps. My arms were already around her back, and they began to rub her in the same rhythm that she rubbed me. Our mouths and tongues moved and fought against one another, until I wrapped my lips around hers and sucked her tongue further into my mouth. Bella gasped, and we both moaned as she hitched her leg over my waist. One of my hands trailed down her leg, feeling every curve through her tight pants. I had been wanting to touch her sexy legs all night, and now it was like a dream come true. My hand continued to roam over her body, exploring new places, and my mind lost all ability to think or reason. I was completely caught up in the moment. Oh, Bella, I moaned into her mouth. Jake, I love you, Bella moaned, breathlessly. I couldn't believe that Bella had finally said that she loved me. I knew that she loved me, and she has confirmed it before, but she hadn't actually said the words to me. I lifted her so that she was straddling my hips. I had no doubt that she could feel me under her, but I didn't care. Bella had just really told me that she loved me, and I was going to enjoy every moment of it. As I attacked her mouth, sucking on her neck and shoulder as my hands gripped firmly to her thighs and backside. I love you too, I murmured between kisses. Our bodies continued to rub together until I thought she was going to pass out, or me explode, whichever happens to come first. Slowly, we both seemed to realize that we were getting a little out of hand, especially for a public place, and slowed our movements to be sweet kisses, ending back where we started with Bella's head on my shoulder and my arms wrapped around her back. After a long moment, I finally spoke. I think I could stay like this forever.
I know what you mean.
she mumbled into my shoulder. I could feel her weight sink into me, and I knew she was getting tired. Come on, let's get you home. We both got up and walked back to the car with our arms around each other's waist. I opened her door and once we were settled, started heading back towards home. Has your cousins always lived in Port Angels? Bella asked. I shrugged. For as long as I can remember. Why? I was just wondering why they didn't live on the reservation. Sometimes Bella was a little too observant for her own good, and this was a question that I didn't really want to answer. Well, there were some who didn't like that Victor married Ashley. Why? Because she's white. There was an awkward pause that screamed the obvious that Bella was white and that some would not like me dating her. That was 40 years ago. Things are different now. I really doubt that, Bella countered. If someone has a problem with me being with you, that is their problem. It's a stupid problem to have in the first place. It really made me angry that I knew some people in the tribe wouldn't like me dating Bella, or would even be angry if I were to marry her. Truthfully, I knew even more angry because of my great-grandfather being the last chief. I knew that they would want my bloodline to remain pure. I didn't care and Dad didn't seem to care, so I wasn't going to make a big deal of it. We chatted easily the rest of the drive home. I got on to Bella again, when she tried to get herself out of the car, and then walked around and opened her door. It was just after 11 o'clock, and Charlie was asleep on the couch when I walked her inside. Bella was really tired, so I kissed her goodnight and let her get to sleep. I think this is officially the best summer of my life. Bella and I have spent every moment that we can together hanging out, riding our motorcycles, watching movies, walking along the beach, and making out like teenagers. I've tried 2 times to get Jackie and Bella to meet each other, but Bella's job kept it from happening the first time, and the resort kept it from happening the other. So, I decided that maybe we needed to get away in order for that to happen. It was a busy Saturday afternoon, and Jackie and I were running the gift shop. It was a large wooden A-frame style building, with a wraparound porch with several large wooden rocking chairs out front that guests would relax on. Inside there were several rows of candy, chips, and random food that would be found in most gas stations or convenience store, as well as tribal crafts, outdoor books, and magazines, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and beautiful pictures of the local waterfront and forest. Jackie was stocking the food. I was banned from that responsibility because it always made me so hungry, so therefore I was at the register. Jackie, would you like to go camping? I said suddenly, without much thought. With you? Yeah. Well, sure, but I doubt your girlfriend would like that very much, and for the record, I'm not a cheater. I don't mess with guys who are taken. She finished stocking and returned the boxes of food to the storage closet. I blushed, not meaning that the way it sounded. Sorry, not like that. And for the record, I didn't mean to imply that you would cheat. I said to her when she returned. She walked over to the counter and leaned against the customer's side. I was actually wanting Bella to come also, and thought maybe if we went away, then you two could actually meet. So you want to go on a camping trip with just me and Bella? That seems just a little awkward to me. No one wants to be a third wheel. Yeah, I understand, but Quill and Embry could come too. They both would come by the resort when they got bored, and would hang out for a while if we weren't too busy. Well, that sounds like fun. I can only imagine the kind of trouble those two would cause. Jackie laughed. So what do you think? Are you in? She thought about it for a moment, and then smiled. You bet. Wouldn't miss it. Excellent. I held my hand up over the counter, and she slapped it in a high five. Now I just need to convince Bella to come and we will be set. Good luck with that. She smiled, and a customer came in. So she moved away and did a little more stocking before joining me behind the counter. The rest of the day went smoothly with a steady stream of visitors, some just stopping and looking around, and others making purchases. After work I had patrols and was able to talk to Quill and Embry, and they loved the idea of a camping trip. So after being outside Bella's house for a couple hours, I really wanted to talk to her and see if she would agree. Now that it was summer, Bella started leaving her window cracked, and I could just move it open and crawl up when I happened to be in the area. So I climbed up and slipped inside her room. She was sound asleep on her back with one arm under her pillow and the other resting on her stomach. The blankets were draped over one leg and opposite shoulder, and her long hair was back in a messy loose bun at her neck. I came and scooted her legs over so that I could sit on the bed next to her, and lightly rubbed her calf to try and wake her up. Bella, I whispered. It took 3 times, and I started to tickle behind her knee when she started to stir. Stop it, she mumbled. Come on, Bells. I wanted to talk to you. Unless you're here to kiss me, go away. Well, if you insist. I leaned over her and started to kiss her, and we kissed for a while where I almost forgot why I was here in the first place. We were both panting when I tore my lips from hers and sat up next to her. As great as that is, that really isn't why I'm here. Bella took a deep breath. All right. What is so important that you woke me up for? Suddenly asking her to go camping felt like something that probably could have waited until morning, and certainly does not qualify as important. Oh, nothing. I tried to back out of it. Jake, I'm already awake. Yeah, I know, sorry. I started to stand up from her bed so that I could leave. Bella reached out and grabbed my hand. You're here. Say whatever you came to say. Really, I shouldn't have awakened you. Go back to sleep. Fine, leave. Bella tossed my hand away and rolled over so that her back was to me. Bella, don't be mad at me. Then tell me, Bella said, frustrated. I just wanted to know if you wanted to go camping with me. I said quickly, running all the words together. Seriously, Jake, you woke me up for that. I know. It was stupid. There was a long, awkward pause where neither of us said anything. It was very stupid. Bella finally whispered. When are we going? You'll come? Your timing sucks, but it doesn't change that I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I smiled. You're the best. I quickly sat next to her, crushing her to my chest. Can't breath, Jake. I laughed and let her go as I quickly kissed the side of her head. Would it just be the two of us? Bella asked, and it seemed like she was excited about that possibility, which sent my mind to the gutter before I could grab it back. Not exactly. Her face fell a little, and I placed my finger under her chin, bringing her eyes back to mine. But it sounds really fun to be able to get away with just you. Just not this time. I wanted to have a chance for you and Jackie to meet each other. Bella frowned. You want to go camping with me and Jackie? That just screams awkward. That is what Jackie said, however. I promised to bring Quill and Embry as well. Well, that would be better. Why did you talk to Jackie about this before me? It just sort of slipped out of my mouth at work today, but if Jackie wasn't on board, then I would have had to think of something else anyways. True, enough. You still haven't said when. I was thinking this Wednesday and Thursday, maybe leaving after work on Tuesday. Sounds good. Bella took a deep breath, and I could tell that her sleepiness was returning. Well, I will let you get back to sleep. I really am sorry for waking you up. I should have just waited until morning. You're here, can you just stay? What about Charlie? I asked. He rarely comes in here. The one time he woke us up, he must have really felt like he needed to talk to me before going to work. Normally he is scared to death about accidentally walking in on me exposed. Exposed, huh? I smirked. Bella rolled her eyes. If you're staying, it is to sleep. What if I want to kiss you some more? I leaned over her, bringing my lips close to hers, but stopping before actually touching them. I guess I could live with that. She leaned up and pressed her lips to mine. I smiled around her lips and kissed her back. You hold a tough bargain, but sleeping sounds great. Scoot over. I looked over at the clock and I only had 30 minutes left of my shift, and figured that Quill and Embry would cover for me this time. I crawled into her bed, wrapped my arms around her, and went right to sleep. I woke up the next morning with a note beside Bella's bed from her saying that she has gone to work and that Charlie was already gone. I helped myself to some cereal, and then I needed to get on to work myself. The next several days went by very quickly, gathering supplies for the camping trip for all 5 of us. After work on Tuesday, Jackie and I picked up Quill and Embry, and Bella met us all at my house. Bella's loud truck roared to a stop. Bella, Quill and Embry yelled, and both gave her big hugs as she got out of the truck. Hey guys! Bella greeted them warmly and returned their hugs. Jackie and I were sitting on the front porch, and I could tell that she was really nervous. She's not going to bite you, I whispered to her. I'm not quite so sure about that, Jackie whispered back. She took a deep breath and we both stood up. Come on. I lightly patted her back and we walked towards Bella. Bella, this is Jackie. Jackie, this is Bella. They both eyed each other in a way that truly only girls can assess one another. Now you two play nice. I'm going to help load Bella's truck. I heard them both give pleasantries to each other, and then it was awkwardly quiet. Are you sure this was a good idea? Embry asked softly. Nope, I answered honestly. How bad could it get? Quill asked. We all looked over and both girls had their arms crossed over their chest, not saying anything to each other. I guess we'll find out. We finished loading Bella's truck and then Quill and Embry jumped in the back and I walked over to the girls. You two ready to go? I asked, walking over to Bella and taking her hand. Do you want to drive and me tell you where to go? Or do you want me to drive? I asked her. I'll drive. Bella stated. We aren't going far, Jackie. Do you want to ride with Quill and Embry or up front with me and Bella? I'll take the back. Bella walked around to the driver's side and Jackie stepped on the tire and lifted her other leg over the side of the truck. Quill offered her a hand and helped her to settle on top of a couple sleeping bags. As we drove, I gave Bella directions. We were technically still on the reservation, but on the complete other side, deep into the mountains that lead over the cliffs. There were several streams and smaller pools great for fishing and several waterfalls. Somehow the greens were even more vivid on this side, and there were lots of wild blackberries and raspberries throughout. We had been driving for over 5 minutes, and Bella still hadn't said anything to me. Bells, are you okay? You never told me that she was so beautiful. Jackie? No, Quill. Bella scowled. Of course, Jackie. I'm sorry, I didn't think about it. How could you not? She has long, gorgeous legs, curves in all the places girls are supposed to be curvy at, and she just stood there like she owned the place. Bella. I shook my head. When I think of beauty, I only think of you. I wish that there was a way to let you see yourself the way I see you. We arrived at our camping spot and I pointed to a patch of grass over to the side for her to park in. Once we were stopped, those in the back jumped out and started unpacking the gear. Bella, I think you're exaggerating a little. You have a fantastic body, and I'm pretty sure that she is just as nervous as you seem to be. I just feel like she has everything that I don't. Except for me, she doesn't have that. You do. Try to remember that. Believe me, I will. She smirked at me and crawled away from the steering wheel into my lap and began to kiss me. I always absolutely loved kissing her, but in this situation, it felt more like a show than affection, so after a few kisses, I pulled back. Bella, you don't have to prove anything. Everyone knows that we are together. I suppose you're right. Just give her a chance. Please. Okay, I will. We got out of the truck and joined the others getting our campsite set up. There were several random campsites set up over various parts of the reservation in order to allow everyone a chance to see different areas of our land. This one had a large fire pit and a grate over it for easy cooking. Several short round logs to be used as chairs, a large flat area for tents to be set up, and an outhouse mostly for the girls. We set up a large tarp on the ground to lay our sleeping bags over it. With it being summer, we all agreed that a tent wasn't needed. It was pretty late by the time we all got off work, so we didn't really plan on any activities for this evening, other than setting up camp. Bella was really trying with Jackie, and with Quill and Embry here, everything was going pretty smooth. Before going to bed, I walked Bella and Jackie to the outhouse, and it gave them the chance to change. Both of them wore cotton pajama pants and tank tops, and smiled at each other at their similar appearance. The sleeping bags were arranged in a circle so that all our heads pointed at each other, and it was Embry, Jackie, Quill, Bella, and then myself. The girls crawled inside their sleeping bags, and us guys just laid on top of ours. We all comfortably chatted with each other and looked up at the bright stars over our heads. Slowly all conversation slowed down, and it was clear that we were all settling in for the night. I leaned over and kissed Bella. She wrapped her arms around my neck, not letting me lean back over, and continued to kiss me. Get a room. Shut up, Quill, Bella said to him while still kissing me. I tried to keep kissing her, but I couldn't once I started laughing too hard. Bella just rolled her eyes and took my hand with her inside her sleeping bag. I scooted a little closer to her, and she clutched tightly to my arm as we both drifted off to sleep. Halfway through the night, I could hear someone tossing and turning in their sleeping bag. I could feel Bella was still, so it must have been Jackie. Jackie, are you all right? I whispered to her. Yeah, I'm just cold. I ran my hand down Bella's arm and I could feel that she was cold too. Here. I got up off my sleeping bag. It was really warm just from me laying on it, and I laid it over Jackie. Wow, that feels great, but I feel bad for taking your bed. Don't worry about it. I'll just make Bella share. All right, thanks, Jake. Night, Jackie. Good night. She took a deep breath, and it seemed that she would be able to sleep quickly. I walked over to Bella and began to unzip her bag, and tried to slip in without actually waking her up. But that was just stupid because it was a pretty tight fit. Jake, what are you doing? Bella asked sleepily. I'm sharing with you, Scoot. We shifted awkwardly trying to get comfortable and finally ended with me on my back, and her basically on top of me. She was completely over my chest and straddled my right leg. "Is this okay?" Bella whispered. "Yeah, it is." I wrapped one arm across her back and rested my other on her thigh. "Good night, sweetheart. Sorry I woke you."
Anytime. She smiled, giving me a couple quick kiss on the neck, and then laid her head back down on my chest.
She fell back asleep quickly, but for me it was a bit distracting to have her being so close to me, and our bodies pressed together. Bella had been cold before I snuggled in, and now I could feel her pressed to my chest. I didn't want to embarrass myself or Bella in the morning, but I didn't see how it would be possible to not be aroused when I woke up. It was a pretty normal part of all the kissing that we have been doing lately, and I hoped that it didn't bother Bella. I knew that there wasn't anything that I could do about it now, so I just looked up at the stars and ran my hand through Bella's soft hair until I was able to sleep. I woke up the next morning to the birds chirping, Bella still over my chest and leg, and Quill screaming at us. "Wake up, you love birds," he yelled from the fire pit. Bella and I stretched and looked around. The other three were all around the fire. Jackie was huddled up close to it, and Embry sat next to her with his arm draped over her shoulders. Like I predicted, there was a certain problem that I had to deal with, but Bella didn't say anything even though her blush gave it away, that she was very much aware. After a few minutes we joined the rest at the campfire. There was a kettle over the fire with boiling water inside, and we brought hot chocolate packages and styrofoam cups. Camping just wasn't camping without hot chocolate to wake up to. There was also lots of bagels that we brought to snack on. Bella was responsible for the main meals, and so she got the skillet on the grate which was over the hot fire and cooked bacon, and she had several eggs that were already broken, and mixed with milk in a disposable container, which she cooked after the bacon. "Wow, Bella, these were fantastic eggs," Jackie complimented. "Thank you, it was simple. I'll have to show you what I did sometime." "That would be great. However, I have to warn you I'm not much of a cook." "Does your mom prepare the meals?" Bella asked. "Not really. We tend to eat mostly at the resort's restaurant." "Well, I guess that makes sense." We cleaned up from breakfast, locked the food back in Bella's truck so that animals wouldn't get to it while we were away from camp. We decided to go hiking. There was a great fishing pond not too far off, and so we thought we would go ahead and do some fishing while it was still early, and we had a couple buckets with us to keep them fresh until we were ready to cook them. I held Bella's hand and tried my best to keep her from falling quite so often as we all chatted easily together. Now that Bella had mentioned it, I could see where she might feel insecure compared to Jackie. Jackie was very athletic and was able to run and chase Quill and Embry through the trees. She didn't really stand a chance of actually catching them, but they did a good job of making it look like she did. Especially Embry. If I didn't know better, I would say that he was sort of flirting with Jackie, and at times I would see her eyes linger on him a little longer than I think she would have admitted to. I tried to talk to him about it when we started fishing. "So you thinking of trying to get with Jackie?" I asked quietly. The girls were on the other side of the pond. It was about 15 feet wide, and there was a natural stream that flowed through it, coming down from the mountain. "What? No," Embry lied. "Oh, come on, don't give me that." "Well, maybe," he admitted. "I just don't know." "I think you should go for it," Quill added. "Really? Isn't that gonna make you the fifth wheel or something?" "Nah, I'm good," Quill encouraged. "Yeah, I think she likes you," I added. Embry rolled his eyes. "Coming from the guy that she has been pining over for years. Don't go there. We are just friends, and she knows that. I just don't want to be someone's second place. We all know that she would have preferred being with you." "Do you think I'm Bella's second place?" I asked him. "What? No, of course not." "Then there is no reason for you to say that about yourself." All right, I get it. It was a really hot day, and both girls had taken off their shoes and socks and stuck their feet in the water. They were both wearing jean shorts and tank tops. Bella's was light pink and Jackie's was a dark green. We had spent several hours fishing and it was a great success, easily enough for lunch and dinner. However, as we were cleaning up our fishing gear, Quill seemed to have disappeared for a moment. I should have known to watch him closer, and suddenly both girls screamed. I turned around and they were both waist deep in the water. My bad. Quill faked innocence. I guess that was just moss and not a snake after all. Bella took a handful of water and tried to hit Quill with it, and missed terribly, but it gave the idea to Jackie and she used both hands and splashed him right in the face. Soon all three of them were splashing each other and in no time completely soaked. Embry and I took our shirts and laid them with our shoes that we had taken off earlier and joined them all in the pond. We had a great time swimming around. I lifted Bella onto my shoulder, and Embry lifted Jackie, and they tried to knock each other off. Bella held up there better than I would have thought, and Quill swam by and yanked Embry's shorts down. The water was deep enough so nothing was seen, but he still dropped Jackie trying to get his pants back on. We all had a great time, and it really was perfect. The only problem, if you wanted to call it a problem, was that, with Bella's shirt wet, we could easily see her bra through her shirt. It wasn't that big of a deal. It is not like we didn't know she wore one, but having the visual evidence was a little different. And once we were out of the water, Bella and Jackie both were cold, and more self-conscious about their clothes being wet. So Bella wore my shirt over her own, and Jackie wore Embry's, until we were able to get back to the campsite for dry clothes. For lunch, Bella made magic out of the fish that we caught, and it was seriously some of the best any of us have ever had. She blushed at the compliments, especially when Quill got on one knee and proposed. I would have hit him had I thought he was serious, and to my surprise, Bella told him yes, and kissed his cheek before coming over and sitting in my lap. We finished eating and then decided to walk over to the waterfalls, and this time we planned on swimming, so we all put on our suits before walking over. I knew that Quill and Bella were just joking and weren't engaged, but I just couldn't get the idea of marriage out of my head. Bells, do you think you'll want to get married? Bella grimaced, and I was surprised because I have never heard of a girl not being interested in marriage. I don't know, she shrugged. I guess with my parents divorcing, I just didn't feel like marriage meant the same to those who stayed together. I always knew that Renee thought it was a mistake when she married Charlie. You know, we aren't Renee and Charlie. Just because it was a mistake for them, doesn't mean it would be for us. I understand that. I guess the experience has given marriage a bad taste for me. I don't want to put my kids through that, and if I don't ever marry, then I don't have to worry about it. Wouldn't it be better to just not get divorced, rather than not get married? That is a good point, she conceded. Besides, I wasn't really thinking now. I agree we are way too young. I was just thinking, in theory, I would love to marry you someday. She smiled at me. I like the idea of getting married to you. Renee just always emphasized going to college, and living life so that I would know what I really wanted before getting married. Do you wish you were going to college and being able to date around? Going to college, a little bit, but dating around, no, that was more Renee's style than mine. She almost always had a boyfriend and wanted me to date when I lived with her. Did you ever have a boyfriend then? No, it wasn't important to me at all. I guess I was sort of a loner. I always thought of Renee as my best friend, but truthfully, she was really my only friend. I just never felt like I could relate to people my own age. That seemed really sad to me, and it made me grateful for the great example my parents were. I couldn't remember their marriage very well at all, but I had no doubt that they loved each other very much. I can vaguely remember playing at the beach and them walking hand in hand or just sitting close to one another, and my sisters complaining about them hugging and kissing each other. As we approached the waterfalls, it was great watching Bella stop and look at some of the natural wildflowers, bright yellow, pinks, and purple, as we passed them by. We could hear the water breaking against the rocks far before we were able to see it. However, as we rounded a corner and you could see the waterfalls in the distance, the water rushed over the rocky surface, and it took several more steps to see the deep pool below. There were two falls that both fell into the same pond below. One of them had a more sudden drop-off, because there was a shallow cave into the rock, and the water rushed quickly to the bottom below, forming white bubbles as the water plunged under the surface of the pond. The other waterfall has a more gentle slop, and the rocks have been smoothed from the water that rushed past them, making them smooth, and we often would slide down the rocks into the pool below. It was a fantastic afternoon of swimming, sliding, laughing, and kissing. I even saw Jackie and Embry kissing a few times, just a couple simple kisses, but it was nice to see them exploring the idea of being more than friends. I was really happy for them, and oddly it seemed to help Bella and Jackie relax and be more comfortable around each other. It also helped when they learned that they had more in common. Jackie's dad died when she was young, and so she lived with her mom for years, so they could relate to living with a single mom, and now both their moms have remarried, so they could also relate to having stepdads. Jackie was pretty quiet about hers, and Bella was indifferent to Phil, so that conversation didn't last long, but they have made considerable progress towards being friends, which was the whole point of the camping trip to begin with. For dinner, Bella added carrots, onion, and potatoes to the fish, surrounded them with tin foil, and then cooked them over the grate. It was another fantastic meal that we followed with s'mores. We toasted the marshmallows with fresh branches and then added them to the graham crackers and chocolate. It had been a long, busy day and we just relaxed by the fire. We could hear some of the wildlife moving around and in the distance a coyote howled. Bella grabbed onto my arm and seemed scared. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Was that one of the pack?" She mouthed the last two words. I laughed, lightly. "No, that one was real." "Oh good, I thought you might be leaving or something." "Nope," I circled my arms around her and took in her familiar scent. But it was a little different mixed in with the sweet smell of nature, but somehow that seemed to make her smell even better. After we were finished using the fire for cooking, Quill was determined to make a huge bonfire and put half the forest in the fire pit. Naturally, it made it really hot to be near the fire, and so we moved back and decided to settle in on our sleeping bags. We could still see the fire from there. Embry noticed that Jackie had 2 sleeping bags and worked it out for her to share with him instead. So both couples completely unzipped the sleeping bags and laid them out and then unzipped the other ones to use as a blanket. "Hey Jake," Jackie said softly as we all settled into our sleeping bags. "Yeah? Do you know the stories that your dad usually tells?" "Most of them. Why?" "I was just wondering if you could tell them. It has been a while since I heard them." Sure. Did you have one in mind?" "I have always loved the spirit warriors." There was a cautious look between Quill, Embry, and I, but I figured I wasn't telling Jackie anything she hadn't heard before. Even though I have literally heard the stories hundreds of times, I hadn't ever actually told them myself, outside of the summarized version that I told Bella on the beach. So I took a deep breath and cleared my throat and then began to tell the stories. I told of the spirit warriors and how they protected our people from neighboring tribes. I could feel Bella's eyes as she drank in the story. I had forgotten that she had never heard the details before. I told of Takaaki and the conflict with Ulapa that ended the spirit warrior, but shifted us into the wolves. Bella gasped at that moment, realizing then that everything I had said was true rather than legend. Quill was on his back, looking up at the stars. Jackie was on her stomach, with her eyes closed, and Embry was on his stomach as well, rubbing her back. "Is Jackie asleep?" I asked softly. Embry shrugged. "I think so, but I'm not sure." He leaned over and kissed her cheek. She didn't move or respond. He shrugged again. "Why does it matter?" Bella asked. "Is there more to the story?" "Since the Cullens returned, my dad doesn't want to include the part of the cold ones. He doesn't want someone telling someone like I did with you. Would that break the treaty?" "It is a tough call, like for me. I didn't believe anything I said, but it didn't stop you from figuring out what they were, and that is what would break the treaty." "What would happen if the treaty were broken?" Quill answered. "No," Bella gasped. "They didn't attack when Jake told me. I don't believe they would attack now." Maybe not," Embry added. "But it is better for us to be safe than sorry." "Can you tell me the rest of the story?" Bella asked. "No problem." I told her about our first encounter with the Cold Ones and the third wife's sacrifice for our people. It wasn't really easy for her to hear, but honestly, she has met enough vampires to know that most are not harmless like the Cullens, so she understood why we had to protect ourselves from them. As I told her the story, we could hear the soft snores of the other 3, and knew it was just us. We rolled over to our sides and I tucked myself around her from behind her, and continued to whisper in her ear, telling her the rest of the story. The story came to a close, and I held on tighter to Bella, resting one arm around to her hip, and my other arm was having a hard time feeling settled. At times I would put it over my own arm or across to her shoulder, but I was worried about touching her again and her freaking out like last time. "It's okay, Jake," she whispered. "What is?"
"If you touch me."
Immediately my heart started ramming in my chest. "Are you sure?" She rolled over to her back and looked into my eyes as she nodded her head. "Yeah, I'm sure." I was still on my side, with one hand resting on her stomach, and slowly I moved my hand up, and I could feel my own excitement. The tips of my fingers grazed up her ribs, and I traced the outside edge of her breast before I placed my hand over her. My breathing was so slow that my lungs hurt from holding my breath, and my body was so tense that I couldn't relax. I felt at any moment she was going to push me away. I didn't move, instead just took very slow, deep breaths. "Relax, Jake." She brought her hand and placed it over my own and squeezed it, causing me to squeeze her. I'm sure my eyes were about the size of saucers. I just couldn't believe that she wasn't just allowing me to touch her, but encouraging me. "I'm sorry, I don't know what to say," I whispered. Then just kiss me. That was something that I could do, and I kissed her, and magically my hand figured out how to move on its own. And in a crazy haze I was able to feel and explore more of her soft curves. I don't really know what I expected, but it was better than I could have possibly imagined. Her body was so smooth and soft and I felt myself get harder. Bella arched her back, making it even easier for me to feel her. As we continued to kiss passionately and she rubbed her hands all over my chest and back until she found the end of my shirt and pulled it up and over my head. As our mouths broke away for a moment, I could see the desire in her eyes, and it was the sexiest thing I have ever seen. I continued to kiss all over her neck, sucking on the spot she loved right between her neck and shoulder, and my fingers traced the strap of her camisole before starting to slip it down her arm. My lips followed my hand as I kissed down her arm and back up to the swell of her breast, kissing and sucking. There was a loud cough that made us both jump and reminded us that we weren't alone. I could barely breathe and rested my head for a moment on her shoulder. "We have to stop," I said through labored breathing. "I know, but that was amazing, thank you." I interrupted whatever she was about to say so that I would not lose what willpower I possessed. I reached my head over and kissed her lips, making it fast, knowing I probably wouldn't be able to stop myself if we went for round 2. "I should be thanking you. Wow."
Bella whispered.
"Anytime." I smiled, and she leaned her head up and kissed me. "I love you," I said between kisses. Bella smiled and giggled. "I love you too. You think there is any chance we can actually get some sleep tonight?" I rolled over to my back, taking her with me so that she draped over my chest. "Maybe." Bella smiled and kissed me again. "Ah, Bella, you're going to kill me. You know that, right?" "Yeah, but what a way to go." "True, very true." And we continued to slowly kiss as we finally fell asleep. The following morning, again Bella and I were the last ones up again, and I felt like I hadn't slept at all, which I really hadn't. However, I would trade making out with Bella for sleep any day, so no complaint there. We had bagels for breakfast, but we really didn't have enough, and so us guys were all really hungry, so we decided to pack up our stuff and head home for real food. It seemed that the weekend was a great success. Bella and Jackie both gave each other big hugs, and were really glad that they were able to meet one another. It seemed that Bella felt comfortable with my friendship with Jackie, and I'm sure it helped that Embry and Jackie decided to start dating. I had to work this evening, so after getting cleaned up at my house, I drove with Bella to her house, and she showered and changed and then we slept on her bed, making sure to set an alarm so I wouldn't be late for work. We didn't kiss this time, because we really needed sleep, and I felt like we were in such a great place that it was comforting to simply relax in each other's arms and not have a care in the world. Later tonight was my last date with Bella before I started school again next week, and Bella insisted that she wanted to plan the date. We have been together for almost 4 months now, and it seems that my life seriously couldn't get any better. The only negative is that the summer has completely flown by, and I am really sad to not be able to spend so much time with Bella. I talked to Dad and I really didn't want to have to wait 2 more years before I graduated, and so we looked into what it would take for me to be able to graduate early. It turns out that just a couple classes at the community college in Port Angels and I would be set, so I enrolled in night classes there. The only major downside to that was I would have almost no life. Immediately after school, I would be heading to Port Angles. The only time I would have to see Bella is on the weekends, and then I would need to patrol to cover for all the time that I couldn't be there during the week. We have gone all summer without any sign of Victoria or whoever the other one was that came to Bella's house. So the pack was really getting tired of the patrols, and Sam wanted to talk to me, so I went to his house. Walking in the front door, Emily was pulling a large pan of cinnamon rolls out of the oven. The house smelled so good and easily I could have started drooling right there on the spot. "Stop staring and close the door behind you," Emily called, as she started to pour icing over the top of the rolls. "Yes, ma'am." She rolled her eyes, and I smiled at her and sat down patiently at the table. Or at least, I tried to be patient. My knee bounced consistently, and I had to keep placing my hand over it to keep it still. "Where's Sam?" I asked to break the silence. "He will be back. Just ran over to Sue's for a moment." "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, just some last-minute things for the wedding next week." "Wow, is it really next week? I can't believe it is almost here." "I know," Emily smiled lovingly. "But we are ready. It is easy to see how much you love each other. Can I ask you something?" "Sure, what's up?" "Your feelings, Suddenly the question rolling around in my head didn't feel appropriate. How much of it is because of imprinting? She asked for me. Yes. Sorry, I didn't know how to ask myself. No, I understand. It would be irresponsible of you to not ask. But unfortunately, I don't know how to answer that question. I love Sam with every fiber of my being, but would I love him if he never imprinted? Would he be with Leah instead? I honestly have no idea. She came over carrying a plate filled with rolls and sat it in front of me, and another plate with 2 for herself, and placed it in front of the chair across from me. She went back for 2 glasses of water and handed one to me and placed the other in front of herself. Thanks. And thank you for your honesty, I said, disappointed that I really didn't have anything more to go on. I like to think that we have more, and that it would have worked out for us regardless, but there isn't any way to actually know that. Are you worried about hurting Bella? It would be stupid for me not to worry about it. But I honestly feel like I'm never going to imprint. I can't imagine feeling more complete than the way she makes me feel. And you're sure you didn't imprint on her? Yeah, I'm sure. My feelings are close to imprinting in the way that I think about her all the time and I want her to be safe and happy, but there is a connectedness or intensity that I have felt from Sam or Jared that isn't there. Honestly. She paused, not sure if she really wanted to continue. There is something beautiful about how you are with Bella, because you want to be. As much as I know Sam really does love me, I also know that he doesn't have any choice other than to be with me. I haven't really thought of that before. So while I have the security that he will never leave me, it is also a little tainted, knowing that he really can't leave me. When I was stubborn and tried to reject him, it just about killed him. So Bella can be thankful that she has your heart, and not just your soul. Wow! Thanks, Emily! We settled into a comfortable silence until Sam came home and he got some rolls for himself, and then joined us at the table. How's it going, Jake? I haven't patrolled with you in ages. Yeah, it has been a busy summer. I'm doing great. Did my dad tell you about taking night classes to try and graduate? Yes, he did. Is that going to work for you? Well, that depends. Is Bella still connected to the Cullens? She sees them sometimes, but mostly Alice. Why? I know that they are in town pretty much waiting on something to happen with the redhead, just like we are. So I was thinking of taking Carlisle up on his offer to help patrol Bella's house. I bit my tongue, but I couldn't keep this distaste off my face. I know, you don't like it, but honestly, with school starting back up for over half of the pack, I think it would be best if we can take that off our plate. The worst part of Sam's logic is that it did make sense. What exactly do you have in mind? That they would watch her house at night and Bella when she goes to work and back. I wasn't planning on putting any stipulation on which ones go and let them decide that. What about Edward? After this much time, do you really think she would go back to him? Because Jake, if you do, you seriously need to work this out with Bella. I really don't think she would, but I can't help the way I feel about her being around him. I understand. I remember you once telling me that if he felt about Bella like you do, that nothing could keep you away. Well, just a guess, but I doubt once I open this door that anything is going to keep him away. And because of that, Bella will be very well protected. She might be protected physically, but would she be protected emotionally? It was so scary to think that, given this opportunity, that he could try to wrap her back into his life, but I also knew that I needed to trust Bella and give her a say in all this. Alright, I am okay with it as long as Bella is. I want to talk to her about it before you set anything up. It is her life, and she should have a say in it. I can agree to that. I have a date with her tonight, so I can talk to her about it then. Sounds great. We chatted for maybe another hour, and then I went home to get ready for my date. It was really strange not knowing what we were doing. The only thing Bella had told me was to dress comfortably and that it wasn't going to be fancy. So I showered, shaved, and dressed in simple khaki cargo shorts and a black t-shirt. I pulled up to Bella's house and she was sitting on the front porch. She had on a simple solid light green dress that was strapless but not revealing, with a small flare at her knee and multicolored flip-flops. She smiled and stood when I arrived. I got out and kissed her, and then opened her door for her and got in myself. She had a small bag with her and placed it in the back seat. So where are we going? I asked. Port Angeles. All right. I knew that I needed to talk to Bella about the Cullens, so I decided to get that over with, and so I talked to her about them watching her house. She was fine with it, and actually had a small smile at the idea. "What about Edward?" Bella asked, cautiously. Sam wasn't going to say who could be there, or who couldn't. "What about you?" Bella pressed. "I don't know, Bells," I answered honestly. "I don't want to be paranoid about your ex, but this isn't some random guy. This is Edward, and I don't know what I am supposed to feel about him."
I understand.
"Do you want him there?" "I don't know, Jake. I would love it if we could be friends. Just to make the awkwardness go away whenever we happen to see each other. But I don't know if it is possible." "Why not?" "We've never really been friends. It was such a sweep you off your feet romance that I never thought of him as my friend." "Do you still love him?" "Yes." I could feel the disappointment, and I swallowed to try and hide it. "It is not the same, but I don't know how to stop loving someone." "Am I always going to be sharing your heart with him?" "Don't say that, Jake." "Well, it's true, isn't it?" "I don't know. I hope not. I wish that I could explain it better." "Please try," I pleaded. With Edward, the moment I saw him, there was a connection. Like love at first sight, and I don't know how to not have that connection, but I would like to. With you, there was also a connection. You made me smile when I never thought it would be possible to smile. That's it? I make you smile. Somehow that didn't feel very impressive, compared to love at first sight. When I met Edward, everything in my life was average. Nothing terrible, even though I didn't really want to be in Forks. Nothing fantastic either. When I came to you, it was like I was at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Don't trivialize that you were able to make me smile. I was barely alive. I wasn't living. I was pretending to live, until I came to you. Having real feelings, any feeling at all, was so weird to me. I didn't know how to handle it, but I knew I wanted more. It was such a relief to no longer have to pretend. She smiled at the memory, and I could tell that it really did make her feel better. "Well then, I'm glad that I could make you smile." "I am too. I've never been happier than I am now."
Really?
"Yes. I thought I was over the moon happy when I was with Edward, but it wasn't real. It's like I was in love with love, and I don't want that. With you, it's real and true, and I wouldn't want it any other way." "Thanks. I needed to hear that." We pulled into Port Angeles and she directed me to the movie theater. "We're going to the movies." "Just wait," Bella said, laughing to herself. I didn't get the joke until she walked up to the counter and asked for 2 tickets to Crosshairs 2. Are you kidding me? They made a sequel to that horrible movie. I know it will probably be terrible, but when I saw it playing I couldn't pass it up. "That is awesome." We laughed and kissed as they handed us our tickets, and also got the large popcorn and soda to share. Like we predicted, it was horribly perfect. We laughed through the whole movie, getting a few strange looks from those around us, but we didn't care. After the movie, we walked to a small sandwich shop and ordered several sandwiches and ate them outside on their picnic tables. It was a large white table with a massive umbrella, providing shade from the sun or from the rain. We spoke easily, and when there was nothing to say, the silence was easy and comforting. We simply basked in the knowledge that we were together. "Come on," Bella said, standing from the table. "I want to get to our next place, before the sun goes down." "All right." We gathered the wrappers from our sandwiches and threw away our trash before heading back to the car. "Where to, pretty lady?" I asked, and smiled down at her. "Let's head back to La Push, to the cliffs." That sounded great. The cliffs were really beautiful at sunset. We were sort of quiet on the way over. I think that we both knew that things were going to change when school started up for me. I know that there was a part of me that was sad to see the summer come to an end, and I was also nervous to what it was going to mean for us when we couldn't see each other very often. We walked up to the top of the cliffs, and Bella got a towel out of her bag and sat it on the ground, and we both came and sat on it. Bella came and sat between my legs, and I wrapped my arms around her, pushing her back into my chest. She rested her head against my bicep. The sun slowly slipped below the horizon. It wasn't the most beautiful we have ever seen because there were too many clouds in the sky for the colors to really reflect off of, but it wasn't really the view that mattered. "I'm going to miss you, Jake." She turned her head and kissed my chest. "I'll miss you too." I took a deep breath and kissed the side of her head. "Maybe it won't be so bad." I tried to be optimistic and failed pretty miserably. "Maybe." Bella looked up at me, and I saw the uncertainty in her eyes as I brought my lips to hers. There was an intensity to the kiss that was different than so many of our others. It shouldn't be goodbye, unless it was saying it to the summer and to the freedom that it allowed, but in a weird way it felt like it was. Bella turned so that she faced me as we kissed. My hands came around to her shoulders. I had almost forgotten that her dress was strapless as my hands came across her shoulders and down her arms. Her skin was so incredibly soft and smooth despite the additional touching that we have been doing lately. Most of the time I kept my hands over her shirt, and so there was usually material between me and her skin. It was a rare treat to have her skin so accessible. Honestly, it seemed like Bella seemed to have forgotten about it as well, until I touched her skin. Instantly heat soared through our bodies, and we pressed ourselves closer together. Our hands were all over each other. There didn't seem to be a conscious thought, just moving and touching. My hands came over her chest down to her stomach, and then back to her shoulders, as I lightly pushed Bella back so that she was laying over the towel, and I began to kiss down her neck, shoulder, and any other exposed area. Once again my hands trailed down her body until they both found her legs. Her wearing shorts and dresses throughout the summer has been fantastic for being able to feel her skin, and I massaged her thighs, placing myself between her legs. While we have been here, the clouds continued to gather together and rain began to fall. First it was light sprinkles that we continued to kiss in. However, slowly the rain increased and began to soak into our clothes. "We should go," I said breathless, and while my brain knew it was true, my body couldn't stop kissing her to actually go with it. "I don't want to. The rain hasn't killed me yet. I really doubt it will tonight." "Fine by me," and we continued to kiss one another. In no time I was completely soaked. Bella pulled my shirt off, and then pushed against my right shoulder, rolling me over to my back. She ran her hands over my chest and hips, landing over the bulge in my pants. My hips bucked into her and she slipped under the material of my pants. My eyes rolled back into my head and I wouldn't have been able to speak a coherent sentence to save my life. I wanted to tell her that she didn't have to do this, but I think she knew that. Don't have to, was all that I could choke out. I just don't know what I'm doing. Bella blushed and I thought it a little ironic that she would still be embarrassed. "You're doing fine." She continued to explore softly, and I tried to be as still as I could, but I couldn't help gasping and bucking as I thought my heart was going to leap right out of my chest. It was beating so fast. "It's not working," Bella complained. "What are you talking about?" I panted. "You're not. You know." "Oh shit, Bella. I was trying not to." "Well, stop that." She squeezed harder and began moving again. Oh my God. My brain completely quit working as I brought one arm around to her back, pressing her body into me and latching my mouth to hers. It was just a few minutes later that I completely lost it. I laid for a moment trying to determine if it had been real. I felt Bella's smile behind my lips and she pulled her hand out and cleaned up with the towel. The rain continued to fall around us, and I pulled Bella into my lap and wrapped my arms around her, pulling her to my chest. I hugged her tightly for a long moment, and then looked her in the eyes and I kissed her lips. "Thank you," I whispered between kisses. She smiled big. "You're welcome. You're next, you know." She lowered her head in embarrassment. "Okay, but not today." "Why? Didn't I promise you some summer loving?" She laughed lightly and smiled. "I'm not quite ready." "Okay, but I guess I'm a little confused. Why would you do that if you don't want it back?" "I don't know." She ducked her head into my chest, avoiding my eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize." I wrapped my arms tighter around her and rubbed her back. Having Bella touch me was the greatest feeling in the world, but I couldn't help but still feel really confused. I didn't want to pressure her, and I was fine with waiting. I simply just didn't understand. If she knew that she wasn't ready now, did that mean she had been ready before? Maybe when she was with Edward. My mind drifted back to the truth or dare game we played, and when I asked her how far she had gone, she didn't answer. Did I really want to know? Did I have any right to know? I felt a little sick at the thought of him touching her, or worse, being inside her. I shuddered without realizing it. "Are you cold?" Bella asked, surprised. "No, of course not. I guess I was just thinking."
About what?
"I'm fine that you aren't ready, and is it me?" "Jacob," she yelled, and I could tell that she was really angry, and she moved out of my lap next to me. "What do I have to do to prove that you are who I want? Is that it?" Roughly, she pushed me back and jumped on top of me and kissed me angrily. "Bella, stop." I pushed against her shoulders. "That wasn't what I meant." She fought me for a moment and then knew that she couldn't compete with my strength. "You don't need to prove anything to me, especially like this." She sat up, still straddling my hips, and crossed her arms over her chest. Then what the hell are you talking about? I took a deep breath. This would be so much easier if you weren't already so pissed at me. She rolled her eyes and then continued to glare. All right, I was thinking that maybe you know that you aren't ready now, because you knew what it felt like to be ready. I watched her face and she didn't say anything, but she gulped and it looked like she tried to swallow, but her mouth went dry. Jake. I sat up and placed my hands around her waist. Look, you don't have to tell me, but you have to know that I am always going to wonder, until you do tell me. She nodded her head against my shoulder. I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure what she was apologizing for, but it didn't feel like it had anything to do with anything that happened today. School has been going for 2 weeks now, and I can already feel how tired I am, and how crazy everything is, with adding the night classes to my life. Luckily, everyone in my life is extremely supportive and helping me to study and do homework. If I didn't think things could get more complicated, I got a call between classes that Bella's truck broke down today. Bella had given me her cell phone since she really didn't need it, and I was the one driving back and forth all the time, so I agreed to come by her house on my way home tonight. Part of me was thrilled to be able to see her for just a little bit, but the other part of me knew that no matter what was wrong with her truck, I wasn't going to have time to fix it. I pulled up to her house, and Bella bolted out the door. One of the advantages to having a cell phone is that she knew I was coming. We met in the yard, and she jumped into my arms as I twirled her around and kissed her. Charlie was right behind her, standing on the front porch. He rolled his eyes and smiled at our display of affection. Any idea what is wrong with it? I asked them both. Not really. Charlie answered. Unfortunately, I know enough to know that it doesn't look like an easy fix. I kept Bella's hand as I opened her door to pop the hood and then looked over the engine, while Charlie held a huge flashlight for light. When Bella called, she had told me that she heard a horrible pop sound, that is when she noticed that the temperature gauge was way too high and smoke rose from the hood. She was on her way home from work, so Edward and Emmett pushed the truck back to her house and have been with her until Charlie got home from work. I hated smelling the Cullens all over the place whenever I would come to visit. The only place that didn't smell bad was upstairs. Bella kept them all out of her room, even Alice, out of respect for me. After working on her truck for about 20 minutes, I didn't see anything that I would be able to fix tonight. I'm sorry, Bella. I'm not saying that I can't ever fix it, but I'm not going to be able to for a while. Bella's face fell. It was so cute how much she really loved this truck. What am I going to do to get to work? I can drop you off, Charlie offered. I think I would rather have Alice or Edward to come and get me and take me back and forth. Charlie and I both cringed at that. Bella was trying to be friends with Edward and it wasn't easy on any of us. Why don't you use my rabbit? You need your car more than I do. No, I don't. I can use the motorcycle. I looked over at Charlie cautiously. I knew how much he hated them. Wait a minute, Jake, he cautioned, like I knew he would. Charlie, I swear nothing is going to happen to me. Besides, it rides so much better than the rabbit that it will probably save me time and would use less gas going back and forth. I can't take your car, Bella said to me. Then just borrow it, and I'll take it back after I am able to bring your truck back to life. Thanks, Jake. She wrapped her arms around my neck and hugged me. You're the best. Sure. Charlie was still shaking his head, and I could tell that he still wasn't really comfortable with this new arrangement. Jake, he said, looking at me, I don't want Bella riding on that death trap with you, and you had better not kill yourself on it. All right, agreed. We all went inside, and Charlie grabbed a beer and went to the couch, while Bella pulled out some extra food and heated it for me in the microwave. Sometimes I feel like I stay at a constant state of hunger. But Bella's cooking was always so amazing that it made me extra hungry. After eating, we went upstairs, and I worked on some homework for tomorrow. And Bella looked over some of my book reports that I had written for my English class. She was a really good proofreader and enjoyed reading, so it made for a great combination. After a couple hours, I was completely exhausted, and I put my books away and stretched out across her bed. I wish that I could just stay here. I mumbled, just thinking out loud. Actually, you can. What? I raised up on one elbow. She came over and sat next to me on the bed. Tomorrow is my birthday, and I asked Charlie if you could stay. And he said yes? I asked, doubtful. He wasn't completely thrilled, but I reminded him that I was about to be 19, and that I really wanted you here for my birthday. Wow, Bella, pulling the birthday card. I thought you didn't want anyone to do anything for you for your birthday. You're right, all I want is you. We smiled at one another and kissed as she laid down next to me. Honestly, I was so tired that I barely had the strength to stay awake and kiss her. I heard her laugh at my sluggish response, and then she got up and I saw her gather her pajamas, and she left for the bathroom. I dozed off, barely noticing when Bella made it back to bed and curled herself around me. Happy birthday, sweetheart, I mumbled. It's not my birthday yet. Whatever. Good night. I wasn't really sure that night made it completely out before I passed out. I slept like a rock and it was some of the best sleep I have had in weeks. I wasn't exactly sure how, but I was gonna have to figure out how to sleep over here more often. Bella was curled up on her side and I was wrapped around her, until I slipped out of bed to be able to stand and really stretch. I could hear Charlie moving around in his room, so I decided to go downstairs and see what I could find for breakfast. I found some pancake mix in the pantry and some bacon in the refrigerator. So I got a couple pans out and made pancakes and cooked the bacon. It didn't take long and I heard Charlie coming down the stairs. Smells good, Bells, but he stopped mid-sentence when he saw it was me. Sorry, not Bella, but at least I make breakfast. He laughed and started the coffee maker. Well, I guess I'm sort of glad that Bella isn't making breakfast on her birthday. Thanks for letting me stay. Don't mention it, Charlie said, and I could tell that he meant that quite literally, which made me start laughing. What's so funny? You and my dad are so the same, with your don't tell me, I don't want to know policy. Charlie smirked. We'll see how funny you think it is when it's your daughter. Okay, point well taken. I had a few pancakes ready, and so I put some on a plate and handed it to Charlie. I wasn't quite ready to let this conversation be over. Before we don't mention it anymore, I was wondering seriously if I could stay more often. We don't get to see each other very often, and I hate leaving just because it's time to go. I don't know, Jake. You know I like you, and there is no doubt that you two are great together. But this is weird for me. She is still my little girl. She can still be your little girl. Just think of me as an oversized stuffed animal that she sleeps with. Charlie cringed. Too much information, Jake. I rolled my eyes. I meant sleep. Sleep. You know, sleeping. Let me think about it. He paused for a moment. Never mind. I don't want to think about it. Work it out with Bella. I don't want surprise visits. If I'm asleep when you decide to stay, just leave me a note or something. And other than you being here in the house, I don't want to know anything else. Got it? This subject is officially closed. I nodded and mentally took a key and locked my lips shut so that I wouldn't say anything stupid to mess this up. I made a plate for myself and Bella and brought them both upstairs to bring Bella breakfast in bed. Good morning, beautiful, I said as I opened her door and placed both plates on her desk before walking over and sitting next to her on the bed. Bella stretched and her eyes fluttered slowly as she smiled at me. Good morning. I brought you breakfast. Are you ready or need a moment? I'm good. Thank you. She pushed herself up to a sitting position and propped her pillow against the headboard. Happy birthday. I handed her a plate with 4 pancakes and 3 strips of bacon, and her eyes got a little scared. You don't have to eat it all. I'll help. Oh, thank goodness. I was afraid you would think I didn't appreciate it or something. I sat at the foot of her bed and ate my breakfast as she ate hers. We chatted easily, and I told her about my conversation with Charlie, and she was thrilled that I would be able to stay over more often. She ate about half of her breakfast, and then I finished the other half while she showered. When we were ready to leave, she drove my rabbit to work, and I ran home, changed my clothes, and made it to school. I had never been more thankful for it, being a Friday in all my life. Bella insisted on not wanting a birthday party, but we convinced her to at least have a bonfire so that we could all hang out. I also really wanted to get her at least a small something. Her aversion to presents was sort of strange. So while at school I continued to think it over until I thought of the perfect thing. School went really fast, and before I knew it I was getting out. After school I raced to our driftwood tree and cut another small branch and went home to work on another charm for her. This time I shaped it into her truck and stained it a reddish color. It took the rest of the afternoon, and honestly it was a little sad when I heard my rabbit pulling up instead of her truck. Regardless of that, I was really glad to see her and raced outside and wrapped her in my arms, hugging her tightly before kissing her. Charlie pulled up right behind her and he brought steak that we were going to grill, along with some corn on the cob. Dad and Charlie cooked the steak and corn, and I prepared a salad and heated the baked beans. It was nice to give Bella the night off, and I could tell she appreciated the gesture, but it was still weird for her to watch me while she sat at the kitchen table. We hung out inside until it was time for the bonfire, and then we walked over together, leaving Charlie and Dad watching some game inside. Bella was greeted warmly by Quill, Embry, Jackie, Seth, and Emily, and Sam did his best to get over his dislike for Bella, while Paul, Leah, and Jared were simply here for the food. We roasted a couple weeks worth of hot dogs and had chips and soda as well. It was Jackie's first encounter with all of us, and while we tried to act as normal as possible, it was a little strange, and there were lots of mixed emotions in the group for Jackie to be included. It was complicated enough to be dating, with the whole imprinting issue, but for her to not know the secret made it that much more difficult. "So, Bella, do you feel older?" Quill asked as he came and sat beside us. "I don't know. I guess I feel normal, which is a far cry from last year." "Why is that?" Leah asked. Bella looked around, and Embry had taken Jackie on a walk along the beach. It sucked being the only one getting older, being surrounded by a bunch of ageless people. Everyone started laughing, and Quill just about fell over as he clutched his stomach. "What did I say?" Bella asked, clearly confused. "We're not aging, Bella," I clarified. "What?" Bella screamed, and we all immediately stopped laughing. "Damn it, you have got to be kidding me." Bella stood up and started pacing back and forth. Paul then started laughing even harder than before, and I looked at him confused. "What is wrong with you?" I asked him. "I've never heard Bella cuss before." I rolled my eyes and looked at Bella. Her face was completely red, and it looked like she wasn't breathing. "Bella, calm down." I stood up and tried to hold her hand, but she knocked my hand away. "I go from one ageless freak to another. What the hell is wrong with me?" Bella mumbled to herself as she continued to pace back and forth. "It is not that bad." I tried to reason with her.
How can you say that? You're not the one who gets older every damn day like I do.
She was stomping her feet and continued to mutter, but there really isn't a point to muttering with a bunch of werewolves. We could still easily hear everything she said. I probably should have taken her somewhere, so that she wasn't making such a fool of herself, but I was shocked still. I had no idea that me not aging would be such an issue for her.
Yeah, I can sort of see how that might be a problem.
But I had no desire to live forever, so I knew I would stop phasing sometime. "Bella, we are going to age again." I came and stood in front of her so she would have to stop or walk right into me. "How?" She shifted her weight to one hip and crossed her arms over her chest. "When we stop phasing, we will age again. That could take forever." "Bella, come on." I took her hand and she let me this time. I decided that it was time to have this conversation, a little more privately. At the same time, Bella seemed to realize that she was making a fool of herself, so she looked down at the ground and allowed me to lead us away. "Sorry about that," Bella said. "Age is a touchy subject for me. Obviously, I should have told you before now, but I didn't think about it." I led us along the beach. As we walked near the water, at times a wave would come and lick my feet, and Bella would step away to avoid the water. "What do we do, Jake? I don't want to keep getting older and older while you stay 16. Just look at me. Do I really look 16 to you?" She looked over my body, looking at me like she didn't know me. "I guess not." "Of course I don't. You remember that killer growth spurt I had? My body aged years in a matter of months in order to prepare for phasing. Now that I am phasing, my body will stay like this, but once I stop, I will start aging again." "Ugh," Bella sighed. "I still feel so old." Bella leaned down and picked up some pebbles and flicked them into the water. "You shouldn't feel any older than me than you already were." She glared. "That isn't helping." I took a deep breath. Think of it this way. By continuing to phase, I'm just letting my chronological age catch up to my physical age. My body is already close to 25 or something like that, so I could probably phase for another 10 years before this would be an issue. I don't want to be 12 years older than you. "Alight, how about I make a deal?" Bella stopped flicking the pebbles to look over at me. "Once things are over with Victoria, I'll quit. You would leave your pack for me." "Silly girl." I shook my head and smiled. "I would do anything for you. You should know that." "I do." She smiled and looked back over the water. The moon was full tonight, and it reflected off the water, creating a calming glow. "What about the vulture?" Bella asked, quietly. "I don't have any idea on that one." I reached for Bella's hand and pulled her to my side. "But just because I quit, doesn't mean that I can't ever be a wolf again."
It doesn't?
"Nope, you remember the story I told you of Taka. Even though he was old, he was able to change back into his wolf to protect the tribe. Did he live 3 lifetimes? We placed our arms around each other's waist and started walking again. I guess at least the lifetime of 3 wives. That is just weird. I agree. I hate taking you away from your tribe. You won't. Obviously other wolves have decided to age and die. That is why we didn't have any wolves before Sam phased. I guess that makes sense. Are you okay? Yeah, I guess. I can't believe I threw such a fit. You stomped your foot and everything. I'm such an idiot. Bella took her hands and put them over her face, shaking her head. I know, seriously, you should be so much older and wiser by now. I quickly took a couple big steps away, breaking contact with her, knowing that she was going to get me for that one. I just didn't want her taking this so seriously. To my surprise, she started laughing. I thought last we left off on age, you were older than me. That's right, after I finished the rabbit, you gave up and said I was older. We both took a couple steps towards each other and wrapped our arms around each other's waist. Crazy how times have changed. I know, then I was just trying to seem older so that you would give me a chance. Well, I guess it worked. Bella reached up and I leaned down as we kissed. We made it back to the group laughing and wrapped in each other's arms, so they could tell that all was good. Bella gave a mumbled apology for overreacting, and all took it pretty well. Paul thought it was the funniest thing he has seen, and the only person who still looked a little troubled was Emily. It made me wonder if she had the same concerns that Bella had, and wanted Sam to quit. There was a time when Sam had offered to step down and let me be the alpha that he felt I was supposed to be, but I wasn't ready. For the first time I began to wonder if I was being selfish, and determined that I would need to talk to Sam. It was getting late, and I would have my weekend patrols in about an hour, so we went back to my house for a while before I needed to leave. We walked in the house, and Dad was watching some late-night TV in the living room, and so I asked Bella to meet me in my room as I walked down the hall to get her present. I came back and she was curled up on my bed with her head resting on my pillow. She looked so tiny on my new bed. I spent about half of my money from this summer on buying a larger bed. Believe me, it was money well spent. Hey, you look about as tired as I feel, I said, sitting down next to her. I don't see how you do it, Jake, with your school and patrolling. It is not easy. I decided to lay on my back. I lifted my arm around Bella, and she rested her head on my chest. We were both still for a while, as I ran my hand through her hair. You're going to put me to sleep, Bella mumbled. Can't have that now, can we? I moved my hand across her stomach, tickling her ribs. Bella squirmed and giggled. Stop that. Are you going to make me? I teased. Yes? She pulled herself up and kissed me. Your torture techniques suck. I smirked, between kisses. Shut up. I decided to take her advice and we kissed and touched until I needed to go. I heard Dad roll to his room and decided that I would help get him settled before leaving. I need to go, Bells. All right, I'm getting up. We both sat up and I stretched. Do you want to stay? I'll be gone for about 6 hours, but you can still stay if you want. Are you sure? Yeah, I'll call your dad. Tell him I'm sleeping on the couch or something. You don't have to do that. I'll talk to him. Thanks. I reached over and gave her a big hug. Hey, before I go, I got you something. I reached into my pocket and pulled out her truck charm. I made it this afternoon. I wanted you to have your truck to carry with you. She lifted her hand, palm up, and I dropped it into her hand. She licked her lips and then bit down on her bottom lip as her eyes glazed over with tears. Thank you, she whispered. You are very welcome.
I love you.
She took a deep breath and wrapped her arms around my neck in a tight hug. I love you too. I kissed the top of her head and wrapped my arms around her tightly. But I really do need to go. I want to get my dad ready for bed before I head out. All right, I'll go to the kitchen and call my dad. Will you help attach the charm before you go? Think about where you want it on the bracelet, and I'll make sure it stays put. Thank you. Happy birthday, Bells. We smiled and kissed before we opened the door, and she went to the kitchen, and I went to my dad's room. Everything went smooth that evening. After patrols, I climbed in bed with Bella for a few hours before she had to get up and go to work. Weekends were still the busiest time over at Newton's, and so life just continued to swirl around us in a whirlwind of school, homework, and patrolling and working for Bella. Both of our dads were very understanding about us wanting to spend as much time together as we could, and so we stayed at each other's houses often. I wish that I could say that we were doing more than just kissing or sleeping when we were together. But honestly, I was so tired that I had no idea what was going on. If I survive this year, I will be so glad when it is over. Arg, I yelled, slamming my book closed. What the hell was I thinking? I can't do this. Yes, you can, Jake. Jackie put her hand on my shoulder to try and encourage me. We were sitting next to each other on the floor in her room. There is a reason you are not supposed to take calculus and algebra at the same time. I swear my brain is going to explode. I usually did most of my studying with Bella, but she was horrible at math, and therefore I usually walked away feeling more confused than when I started. I used to think of myself as being pretty good with numbers, but going back and forth between the two subjects was almost more than my brain could handle. Let's just take a break for a minute. We can go to the kitchen and get something to eat. It always seems to make you feel better. I knew that I couldn't argue with that. She knew me too well. I have been at Jackie's house for the past 2 hours trying to get ready for the 2 tests that I had tomorrow. We walked out of her room and went downstairs to the kitchen. There were several large solid wood cabinets, brown and black granite countertops, and stainless steel appliances. It was crazy how large and spacious it was for a kitchen that was hardly used. Jackie found a couple bags of popcorn and put one, and then the other in the microwave. We sat at the kitchen table and I ate one bag and half the other before Jackie's mom came in. Hello, Jake and Jackie. How is the studying going? She called, as she sat a large brown paper sack on the counter. Fine, we're just taking a break. Do you have anything else that needs to be carried in? I asked. No thanks. I just got some fruit from the market and few other things. She stood at the sink and washed several apples, placing them in a bowl on the counter after she dried them. Then she carried the bowl and placed it on the table. Help yourself. Thank you, Jackie and I both said, as we reached to take an apple. Jackie, don't forget that you have the whole resort to clean up in 2 days, and I won't be here to help. Our Jackie moaned. Do you have to go? You know I do, sweetheart. Every year we go to the National Camping Association. It helps us with marketing and for us to be respected in the camping community. Normally we just close the resort for a week and go. It is during the off-season, so it is not a big deal. But this year a huge corporate office is renting out the whole resort for a planning retreat, and it happens to be at the same time. Why doesn't Chad go instead of you? Because I handle the business side, I always have. We have this argument every time I leave and I'm sick of it. The conversation was getting sort of heated, and therefore awkward to be sitting here trying to pretend like I wasn't listening. It was really rare for Jackie and her mom to fight with one another, but I didn't really have a reference point for mother-daughter relationships to know what was normal or not. However, I was relieved when Jackie grabbed my arm and angrily told her mom that we would be in her room. I kept my mouth shut, and we studied for another hour before I went home. Both tests turned out to be much easier than I had thought, and my only real concern was making sure that I didn't kill myself. Coming back from Port Angles. One of the worst storms I have ever seen has started. It would have been crazy for any other normal person to be on a motorcycle in freezing rain, but quickly turned to hail. It felt like I was being pelted with golf balls. My dad wanted me to come straight home, and Bella made me promise to call her the moment I got there. When I got home, my pants and jacket were frozen to my body, which quickly started thawing once I stepped inside the front door. My God, it is crazy out there, I told Dad as I kicked off my boots and shook the water from my hair as I started to head towards my room to change clothes. Well, I am glad that you are home. I haven't worried about your safety in a long time. I was about to lose my mind, Dad said as he followed me down the hall. I don't blame you, it was intense. I peeled the wet clothes from my body and chose some sweatpants and a t-shirt. We are having Frito pie for dinner tonight. It will be ready in a few, he said as he backed out of my room and headed towards the kitchen. I followed behind him, grabbed the cordless phone, and sat in the living room to call Bella. On the second ring, Bella answered. Hello? Hey, Bells. Oh, Jake, I am so glad you called. My dad says that people are losing power like crazy. He will probably be called out. If he does, he wants to take me to your house, so I am not here by myself. If we lose power... Alright, sounds fine. Is it really as terrible as they are predicting? I think so. Based on my ride home, it was pretty terrible. It didn't help that my wolf could tell as well. There was not an animal in sight. That scares the hell out of me. I heard her tell Charlie that it was me she was talking to, and he seemed relieved as well that I had gotten home safely. Dad rolled in with a large bowl with hot chili, Frito chips, and cheese, and sat it on the end table next to me. Then he turned on the TV so that we could stay well informed. I ate my dinner and continued to chat with Bella until Charlie wanted to talk to Dad, so I passed him the phone. Charlie felt pretty certain that he was going to be called in, most likely from someone being stupid and trying to drive out in the storm, so he wanted everything worked out on our side for Bella to come here when it did. I thought he should just bring her now, but he didn't want to leave the house unless he had to. As they chatted, I found myself getting sleepy and I dozed off on the couch. I woke up with the front door bursting open and then quickly slamming shut, which caused me to spring off the couch in the confusion. The room was completely dark. It seems that we had lost power. However, I could still see pretty well, even in the dark. Over by the door, I saw a person curled in a ball on the floor. Her long hair was covering her face, and she was breathing heavily. Jackie, I wasn't exactly sure how I knew it was her. I just did. Don't try it, she whispered softly. What's going on? She shook her head and her whole body was trembling. I came closer so that I sat right next to her. I brought my hand out and brushed her hair out of her face as my stomach hit the floor. She had bruises all over her face. One eye looked like it was swollen shut. She had several deep scratches on her cheek, and her top lip and chin was equally as swollen. Oh my God! Don't look at me! She tried to hide her face behind her hair, and when she moved her hand, I saw bruises in the shape of fingers around her wrist. I reached out for her hand, and she allowed me to hold it. I didn't know what to say. I didn't need to ask what had happened. I knew suddenly everything was falling into place. The way that her stepdad would yell at her. How Jackie never wanted to be near him, and the way he would look at me like I was a threat to someone he thought of as his. I looked at her body. She was wearing a large t-shirt. Her feet were bare and her legs were up against her chest, under her shirt. At the shoulder, one of the sleeves was completely torn open, and I could see additional bruises where his hands had covered her shoulder and most likely her breast. What can I do? I finally asked. Nothing. Please, there has to be something, I begged. Hold me! Her voice was hoarse and cracked. I scooted closer to her on the floor and wrapped my arms around to her back and gently pulled her to my chest. She was still curled up and she rested her head against my shoulder. I don't really know how long we sat there on the floor, but neither of us moved other than my hands lightly rubbing her back. I was scared to really touch her, either from the bruises that covered her or the memory of someone much more violent touching her. Jackie took a deep breath and sat up, straightening her legs that were also bare. We just looked at each other. It was clear that he had pretty much beaten the crap out of her, but I couldn't help wonder what other torture she had been through. I took a deep breath and cleared my throat to ask her a question. I really didn't want to ask. Jackie, did he rape you? I asked slowly. She nodded her head as she looked down on the floor. He has for years, she whispered softly. Oh, Jackie, I could barely speak. I felt so sick to my stomach. Why haven't you said something? To your mom or to me? She shrugged and then winced. I didn't know what to say. He hasn't ever hit me before, but he was drunk, and I didn't want to do it again. He figured that with Mom gone and the storm there wouldn't be anywhere for me to go. She looked up at me, so scared, but I fought back, and he got so angry, I thought he was going to kill me. That bastard. I wanted to beat him until an inch of his life, and then beat him some more. I clenched my hand into a fist, and realized it was shaking. I couldn't think like this, or I knew I was going to scare her. I took a deep breath to calm myself, then reached for her hand again and held it. I don't know what to say, but I'm glad you're here. Me too. Sorry to crash in on you. I laughed humorlessly. You have nothing to apologize for. However, how did you get here? I ran. My jaw dropped and I looked at her bare legs and feet. You must be freezing. I tucked myself tightly around her, and for the first time touched her legs. They were like ice. She melted into my heat, and I ran my hands over her, trying to get her as warm as possible. I had never felt anyone so cold, and I wondered if my skin felt good or burned being so hot. Once again, we sat there for a long time, and I could feel her start to get really warm from my body heat. Jake, you feel so good. Good, I'm glad. Come on, let's get you off the floor. I'm sure I have got some dry clothes that you can wear. I stood up and helped her to her feet. It seemed that every step was painful, and I couldn't imagine how she had been able to run here in the middle of an ice storm. We made it to my room, and I helped her to sit on the bed, and I found some socks, sweatpants, and a sweatshirt for her. I bent in front of her and put the socks on her feet. "Are you okay with me being in here?" I asked, as she put her legs in the pants, and I helped her to stand so that she could pull them up. "I can leave while you change." "Actually, can you help me?" "Yeah." Her body was still stiff and sore, so I helped her out of her torn shirt and into my sweatshirt. She turned her back to me, as I gently lifted the shirt over her head, and I could see her bare back before I put my shirt over her head. She put her arms through the sleeves and pulled the shirt down, covering herself up. There wasn't anything sexual at all in seeing her. She really was my friend and nothing more. I was about to try and figure out where to sleep tonight when I heard Sam's howl. Of course she would come back, in the middle of the worst storm we have had in years. "Why don't you lie down and get some sleep?" I said to Jackie. "What about you? I can share if that isn't too weird." "No, I think you need your space. Don't worry about me. I need to step out for a little bit so I won't be sleeping anyways." "Thank you, Jake." She took my hand and kissed it. "Anytime." I pulled my sheet over her. "Let me get you an actual blanket." I got one out of the hall closet and came back and draped it over her. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. I ran my finger lightly down her bruised cheek, and I was furious that someone could hurt her like this. I was about to be phasing anyway, so I didn't care if I shook. "You're safe, I promise," I whispered and kissed her hair. I had 4 legs under me, and I was running as fast as I could, kicking snow behind me. The perfume of bleach was laced throughout the air. It had taken me a little longer than I would have wanted to get Jackie settled, and feeling safe and secure. "Minute. Where the hell have you been, Jacob?" Sam yelled. I knew I was in some serious crap for being late, but the image of Jackie in my home came through my mind. "Oh my God," Embry screamed. "I swear I'm going to kill him." In the back of his mind he also wondered why she came to me instead of him. "I know, it's horrible. I'm sorry, Em. I think it was just too personal and maybe embarrassing for her to come to you. She needed her friend and not her boyfriend." "Yeah, I guess that makes sense," Embry acknowledged. "What is going on?" I stated, trying to redirect them away from myself. "The redhead is back," Jared said. "And that smell that was in Bella's house," Quill added. He was right. There was certainly a mixture of both scents throughout the air. "What about Bella? Is someone with her?" Alice and Jasper were already there, and I called Carlisle. He is gathering the rest of the family and will be outside her house until this is over. Seth and Leah are over there as well, so that we can stay in better communication. Sam answered, "All right." I quickly caught up to everyone else and I was completely focused on the task before us. "Let's all stick together. I'm not really sure what it means for the redhead and the new one to be together. So everyone pay attention," Sam ordered. Our eyes searched through the trees, but we couldn't see much with the wind kicking up the snow and swirling it around, so we allowed our nose to lead our feet. Sam was in the lead with Jared on his flank. The rest of us followed their lead as we raced through the trees like one massive bullet flying through the air. I hated that we were so near the resort, even though it was the middle of the night. It made me feel vulnerable and exposed. We made sure to pass by each of the small cabins. The leached smell was all throughout them. Thankfully there weren't any people around. That reminded me of the group that was supposed to be at the resort. Them canceling was probably what led Jackie's stepdad to getting so drunk. As we approached Jackie's house, the stench of bloodsucker seemed to get more concentrated. We could tell that they have circled around the house many times. The road circled around their home, giving them easy access to any area of the resort. Easily. We listened carefully and heard nothing at all. We followed the scent just past the A-frame rental houses, and we were heading towards the RV park when their scent went just past the road that led towards the beach. "Jared, can you see them?" Embry asked. "I smell blood," I added. A heavy, rusty scent filled the air. "I can see them," Sam stated. She was crouched on the ground in a protective position, as another was bent over the body of a man, about 3 yards away. "Tim, what do we do with 2 of them?" Paul asked. "We just have to watch our backs more carefully. We still easily outnumber them. Paul and Jacob stay together and Embry and Jared do the same. Quill and I'll help whoever needs it," Sam instructed. We all stayed together for the moment as we slowly approached the pair in front of us. It didn't take long before the female caught our scent and knew we were near. The other was fully distracted with its kill. Paul and I were closer to that one, and thought we would try and take advantage of the obsession that the bloodlust naturally caused. We both leaped closer, but the female yelled at the other, and he immediately dropped his meal. The man's head slumped to the ground, and I looked into the dead face of Jackie's stepdad. I knew that I should feel bad at the loss of life, but truthfully, I fully believed that he got what he deserved. I just hoped that he was sober enough to experience the fear of what had ended his life. Kind of ironic that Jackie getting the crap beat out of her probably saved her life, Jared said. I shuddered. Yeah, you're probably right, I acknowledged. The leech looked up with blood pouring down his chin, and his eyes were as bright as rubies compared to his young, pale face. He was clearly terrified as his eyes took in all 6 of us, and he began to scream. Shut up, you idiot, she hissed at him. I'm sorry, he cried, as he cowered behind her. I told you I would always keep you safe. She reached out and brushed her fingers through his blonde hair. It seemed to be such a loving, tender gesture. You're too important to let a bunch of mutts get in the way. Her hand rested on his chin, cupping his cheek with her fingers. He looked into her eyes with such devotion, like he trusted her with his life.
That is so disgusting, Paul said.
No joke, I think I'm going to puke. I agreed. Where do you think her little rugrat came from? Quill asked. Maybe she made him, Embry suggested. Probably, Sam agreed. Paul, Jared and Jacob, keep your eyes on the pair of leeches, and do not let them get any closer. They will probably run for the ocean. Together the pack all growled fiercely, and the sound echoed all around us. Run, the redhead screamed. The young blonde leech reached out and grabbed the body in front of him, and like Sam predicted, they headed straight for the ocean. We chased after them, but knew our efforts would be worthless, with the water so close. Mom. Afterwards I went back home, really irritated that we weren't any closer to ending this. At least we knew that Victoria had sent the one that had been in Bella's room, but that didn't really help. As I stepped into my own backyard, I could see the sky start to awaken to the new day. I was exhausted, and just wanted to shower and sleep. Once inside, I went straight to the shower and was able to relax under the hot water pressure and washed my tired body. I stepped out of the shower, dried myself off, and then realized that I forgot to bring new clothes with me. I just wasn't used to having another person, besides Dad, in my house, and most of the time I would just leave the bathroom completely naked to my room for clothes. Instead, I wrapped the towel around myself and walked to my room. With the morning light coming from the window, it broke my heart to see Jackie so swollen and bruised. She whimpered and I could hear her moaning, so I walked over and knelt down beside her head. In her sleep, I could really see her body trembling, representing the fear that she has been living with for the past several years. I hadn't even realized that I had put my hand on her shoulder until she interlaced her fingers with mine, as she rolled over to her side, her hair falling over her face. I heard the front door open and I assumed it was Embry. He was going to go to his house, clean up, and then head over here. It was Bella gasping that proved me wrong. I looked up and Bella looked shocked and tortured. Her mouth was open and she was barely breathing. You did it, didn't you? Did what? I slipped my hand from Jackie's and laid hers gently back on the bed. You imprinted. She bit down on her bottom lip and her eyes filled with tears. What? No, this is Jackie. I thought that was supposed to make it better, but instead Bella looked furious. I can't believe you, she screamed, and ran out of the room, slamming the front door behind her. Jackie awoke disoriented and moaned when she tried to move. Don't move, I told her. I'll be back. I stood up and then remembered that I was still in only my towel from showering. In my mind, I thought about what it must have looked like to Bella, for me to be practically naked with Jackie in my bed. I ran out of the room and chased after her. I found her in the garage and she was pushing her motorcycle out. Bella, please let me explain. Jacob, there is nothing more to say. You cheated on me, with Jackie of all people. At least if it had been some random imprint, you can fall behind that lame-ass excuse. But this... She kick-started the engine and the sound drowned out my explanation as she rode away. I couldn't believe that Bella would think that I would cheat on her. I was so shocked Bella had left that for a moment I just stood in the middle of the yard in only my towel. Yes, I understood that the scene she walked in wasn't great with Jackie on my bed and me almost naked beside her, but still she should have known I would never do anything like that. I knew I needed to chase after her, but I couldn't decide to go back inside and throw on clothes to be able to take my bike, or to just drop the towel and go after her as a wolf. Jake, what are you doing? Embry asked, interrupting my thoughts. I need to go, Bella's pissed, and I need to find her. What happened? I explained to him all that happened. Man, Jake, you just can't catch a break. I know. Anyways, Jackie is in my room, and probably pretty confused. Let her know what is going on, and if you'll help my dad get ready, that would be great. Sure, no problem. Good luck. Thanks. I decided that I wanted to be able to talk to her once I actually found her, so I ran back inside, grabbed some clothes, and got dressed in the bathroom. Embry had followed me inside and first went right to Jackie. I could hear them whispering to each other. I stuck my head quickly in Dad's room, told him that I was heading out, and that Embry was here, and he would fill him in on what was going on. Back outside, I ran to my bike and started after Bella. I know it felt like a lifetime had passed since she left, but in reality it was only a few minutes, so I hoped that I would be able to find her quickly. I rode fast but carefully towards Bella's house, assuming that was where she would go. I wasn't able to know for sure where she had gone due to the thin layer of hail that had been frozen over with ice. So there wasn't even a trail to follow. Even if there had been tracks, they would have blown away from the harsh wind. All around the trees, thick branches were bent over from the weight of the ice. I made it to Bella's house, and it was completely quiet. Too quiet. I got off the bike and I walked inside quickly, going through her room and even Charlie's in case she had gone in there. Just to double check before I left, I listened and could hear that no one was inside. I walked around to the back of her house and no one was there. Not a wolf or a Cullen. I guess with Bella being with me, there wasn't any reason for any of them to be here. I felt confident that I had driven faster than what Bella would have driven, so I knew it wasn't possible for her to have come here, and me to have simply missed her. It seemed that I guessed wrong, and she didn't come here. I took a few minutes and thought about it more. There was one other place that I thought she might go, their house. I had only been there a few times, but it was months ago, before they returned. Then we were chasing Lauren and Victoria, and we made sure to include the Cullens' abandoned home in our patrols, so we would know if they were working together. It was the worst smelling place I have ever been to. I hoped that she wouldn't go there, and tried to think of some other place. But the more I thought about it, the more likely it became. If she really thought I had cheated on her, would that push her back into his arms? Anger rolled down my shoulders, and I could feel myself begin to shake. There was one way to find out. I got back on the bike and started going towards their house. It was much more difficult to find by road, but once I was in the general area, my nose brought me the rest of the way. As I made it around the last bend, I could see their large front porch, an even bigger garage, but I didn't see a little red motorcycle. I took a deep breath, really relieved that she wasn't here. I was about to turn around and go back when I saw Edward standing in my path. I thought about running him over, which he smirked at, so I reluctantly came to a stop. Jacob, why would you think Bella would be here? He asked, cautiously. Without meaning to, I thought of the last thing Bella had said to me. You cheated on me, with Jackie of all people, and the next thing I knew I felt the bone in my jaw crunch, and the force threw me back several feet. Ouch! Damn it! What the hell is wrong with you? I growled at him, crouched on the balls of my feet. I was ready this time. He wasn't going to get another sucker punch. You cheated on Bella, he hissed, as he came towards me, and I had no doubt that he was about to hit me again. No, I did not, I stated firmly, as I glared at him. I rubbed my jaw as the bone was already starting to put itself back together. Not that he deserved an explanation, but I ran through my mind of Jackie coming to my house, and her bruised face, everything that she had told me, and putting her to bed before going to meet my brothers. I showed myself leaning close to Jackie, and Bella getting the wrong idea before leaving. I am sorry for your friend, Edward said, ashamed, and I apologize for hitting you. I rolled my eyes. Whatever. Has Bella been here? No. All right. Bye. I picked up my bike, which had fallen over, and brought it back to life. Wait, Jacob. What do you want? Let me help. I can find her just fine. I don't need your help. I revved the engine, getting ready to leave. Do you have any other ideas of where she would have gone? I really didn't, and while I didn't want to admit it, I knew he would read my thoughts. So, you will be tracking her. Yeah, pretty much. Look, Jacob, no one can track Bella like I can. Her scent is much more powerful to me, greater than any other person. I made a face showing my disgust. Persum. I laughed. Edward shook his head and sighed. She left from your house, right? Yes, which means she is most likely still on the reservation. You can't help. I could if you allowed it. Shit. I hated that he was right. If I wanted to track Bella, I was going to have to phase and let my wolf lead me, which would be rather difficult throughout the reservation. With the storm that had come through, it was very cloudy. He wouldn't have a problem being out at all. Was finding Bella faster worth having to stay with his stench the whole time? All right, but you're staying with me. And once we find her, you are out. You got that? Agreed. My bike was already started, so I took off towards my house, and Edward ran in the trees. When we approached the border into my land, Edward slowed, probably out of habit, and we made eye contact as he crossed over. I sure hope that I didn't regret this decision, and that Sam didn't beat the crap out of me for it. I pulled up to my house with Edward right behind me, and Embry walked out the front door, probably hearing my bike. What's going on, Jake? He looked between Edward and myself. I'm using his nose to find Bella, and then he is getting the hell out. Do you need help? Embry asked. I shook my head. How's Jackie? I asked him. She is still here. She took a shower, and now she has fallen back asleep. Has there been any other signs of Victoria or Riley? Edward asked. Embry looked disgusted at him. Not since last night. I think that Sam is the only one phased, and everyone else is off.
Let's go. I sneered at Edward.
And we both started running. I'm sure he was holding back with me in my human form, but we went much faster than a normal human would be able to maintain for very long. I followed him as he led me to Quelle's house where I saw her red bike. I knocked on the door, but Quelle's mom told me that he wasn't here. I felt kind of stupid for not thinking that she would come here, but honestly I was really surprised that she did. Maybe I was just so focused on Bella being hurt, and thought she would want to hurt me in the same way she thought I had hurt her. Do you really think she would do that, Jacob? Do what? I wasn't really used to having someone respond to my thoughts, at least not when I'm human. I went towards the cliffs thinking that was where they would have gone. Cheat on you. With me? Normally, no. But I also wouldn't have thought that Bella would assume that I had cheated on her. I thought she knew me better than that. He took an unnecessary breath. I know that I'm the last person to give you relationship advice. You got that right, I mumbled. But she sort of has abandonment issues, and that is all my fault.
Damn right it is.
But as much as I would like to blame you for this, that is hardly the point. I get the fear of imprinting. That makes sense for her to be worried about me abandoning her. We both worry about that, but for her to think that I would cheat on her. I was really getting frustrated and I could feel the tremors vibrate down my arms. I clenched my fists and took a deep breath to get my mind on something else. Being angry and walking with a bloodsucker wasn't a good combination if I wanted to remain human. I looked around at the trees that surrounded us. There were several branches that bent over so far to the ground that I was amazed that they hadn't snapped in two, while other trees literally did snap, looking like it had been struck by lightning as the trunks split in two and fell in front of our path. It really is amazing how you can do that. Edward acknowledged. You know what is amazing? How you rarely make any sense at all. What are you talking about now? Your phasing, or I guess I should say your control over your phasing. I have never seen anything like it. Thanks, I think. I never quite knew what to do with him. He was always so polite, but no one could be that perfect. Edward started sniffing strangely. What's wrong? I asked. She doesn't smell right. What does that mean? I think that Quill, he hesitated on his name, was carrying her. His nose crinkled like he didn't like the wolf smell covering over Bella's own scent. I'm not sure if it is weirder that Quill is carrying her, or that you can tell just by her smell. Thanks, I think. I rolled my eyes and laughed. So where to? I asked. Never in a million years would I have thought that I would be running around with Edward, working together. Only Bella would be able to bring the two of us together. This way, Edward answered. We continued around in a direction that I really wasn't that familiar with. I remembered playing here a long time ago as a kid, but I haven't been to this part of the cliffs in years. It is an unlikely partnership, you and I, Edward continued. There's an understatement, yeah. We settled into a comfortable silence for a little while as we continued to run through the trees. Hey Jacob, this might not be my place. I know that Bella would never complain, but she is bored out of her mind working at Newton's. I bet. Any other bright ideas? She could go to college and my family could enroll as well. We would keep her safe. I'm sure you would, I said sarcastically. even though truthfully I knew that they would probably keep her as safe as Bella could be. But I also knew that if she went to college, I would never be able to see her. I hoped I wasn't being selfish keeping her close. I tried to imagine how boring it would be to work at an outdoor store during the off-season when hardly anyone was camping or having outdoor adventures. I wondered why Bella never mentioned it. She didn't want to give you something else to worry about. How do you know all this? Bella talks about you all the time. I was really surprised that she would talk about me to Edward, and it was really great to hear. I am her boyfriend after all. She should talk about me. What does she say? She is really impressed how you balance your pack life and school. Sometimes she feels bad because she wants to be with you more than she can. Does that suck for you? Sometimes. But you make her happy in a way that I can't. I snickered, thinking about the more intimate moments with Bella. Edward cringed. Jacob, please stop. That wasn't what I meant. What did you mean? You can provide her with a future, a life. I have always wanted that for her. We continued to run through the trees, leaping over broken branches as he led us towards the cliffs. Do you wish she had stayed with you? I asked. Of course, but I love her enough to see that she is better off with you. And now that Bella and I are starting to be friends, it is a little easier. Thank you for that. I shrugged. I didn't really have a say in it. Do you not want Bella and I to be friends? It makes her happy. I can tell that she is glad that things aren't as awkward between you two. I just don't trust you. I hoped my honesty didn't offend, but at the same time didn't really care if it did. He looked at me a little surprised. Is there something I can do to make you trust me? I don't know. Take right now, for example. Why is it important for you to actually see Bella? We know she is with Quill, so she is safe. Why are you still here? He thought about my question for a moment. I guess it isn't easy for me to completely trust you either. And I really like having this opportunity to feel like I'm protecting her too. I feel pretty useless sometimes. Like with Victoria last night, if one of us could have been with you all, then we could have actually gone into the water after her. Do you think we are scared to chase after her? That wasn't even close to being true. We were all tired of dealing with her and would give anything for it to be over. Not scared, just limited. It would be suicide for you to do that. She knows that, and that is why she keeps running back to the water. But if one of us were able to actually follow her in, it might catch her by surprise. Maybe I can talk to Sam. As we continued to run, it seemed that we should have been there by now. Jacob, are we running around in circles? It feels like that, doesn't it? Aren't you supposed to be the expert tracker or something like that? That is why you're here. Yes, but I didn't factor in on her being carried by a mutt. Hey, that mutt is my best friend. Then why is he taking your girlfriend somewhere difficult to be found? Obviously some place that you aren't familiar with. I don't know, but could you really imagine Bella trying to make it very far in this? I shifted my body weight, allowing both feet to slide forward on the ice. She can barely walk on a flat surface. Never mind a slippery one. I'll give you that, but nothing. It isn't what you think, I interrupted angrily. There is nothing going on between Bella and Quill. I don't care how mad she is at me. She wouldn't go there and neither would Quill. He knows everything. He's been inside my head. Except for what happened this morning, he doesn't know that. Do you think Bella is tricking him into hiding her? That is a possibility. Bella is a terribly liar, but Quill is extremely gullible. If he thought he was doing what I wanted, he would hide Bella, especially if he thought it had anything to do with a leech. No offense. None. Taken. The wind continued to blow and the clouds overhead were moving quickly. The storm was officially passing through and in its wake left bitter cold temperatures. I looked up into the sky and could see the thick layers of clouds stacked one on top of the other in a layered rippled look, and rays of sun poured through the thin gaps in the clouds. Is there some place out here that he knows about that you don't? Edward asked. What a stupid question. How would I know that? Alright, point taken. Even though it was impossible for me to know that, it did give me something to think about. If I were to hide Bella, where would I put her? Against the cliffs there are several caves, but would it be safe to have her so near the water? It is actually a good idea, Edward said thoughtfully. How is that? The natural assumption is that you would want her as far away from the water as possible, so therefore her being so close would seem unlikely. Alright, this way then. We turned towards the caves, and Edward started moving faster. I assumed that he was picking up her scent again. We went past the first two caves, and then there was a smaller cave that I honestly didn't know was here. Stay here, I said to Edward. If Quill smells you, he will assume that he needs to phase. Okay. Edward positioned himself downwind of the cave to try and carry his scent away. Quill, Bella, I yelled. Get out here. I could hear them moving, and in a few minutes, Quill poked his head out, looking around cautiously. What is going on, Jake? Why am I hiding Bella? He crinkled his nose as his arms began to shake. Do I smell a leech? Calm down. You can smell Edward. What? Bella yelled from within the cave, and then I could hear her stumbling towards the entrance. Edward is here? She poked her head out, looking everywhere, but at me. Hey, Bella. Edward stayed away, but took a few steps over, revealing himself. Jake? Quill questioned. Bella had a misunderstanding this morning and ran. First I went to Bella's house thinking she would go there, and then I stopped by the Cullens. That is when he started tagging along. Hey, I have helped, Edward clarified. Sure. I rolled my eyes. Bella? Quill turned his question to her. Jake didn't know I was hiding you. What is going on? I caught Jake with Jackie this morning. So? Quill still didn't understand what Bella was saying. That doesn't matter to you. Jeez, Quill, I thought you were my friend. I am, but I don't see the problem. Jackie needed someone and went to Jake. Bella stomped over to Edward. Take me home. No, Bella, you need to know the truth, he said, surprising me and confusing Bella. It was silent for a moment. I didn't feel like I should be defending myself. I did nothing wrong, and it hurt more than I wanted to admit that Bella had such little faith in me. Part of me wondered if Edward was going to tell her and save me from it. Do you want me to tell her? Edward asked. No, I will. I took a deep breath. Bella, I did not sleep with Jackie, and I wasn't about to. Quill's eyes popped open in surprise. Clearly that was the last thing he thought I would say. I continued. I wasn't even home for most of the time that Jackie was there. Where were you? And why was she there? Bella asked. Victoria came back last night. Bella's eyes got huge. For a moment, it made me wonder what Quill and Bella have been talking about for the past hour, while hiding in a cave. But I decided I would ask about that later. So I was out because of her, and Jackie came to my house, because it was so difficult saying out loud what he had done to her. Because, Bella asked, because her stepdad raped her, and then beat the crap out of her when Jackie wouldn't let him do it again. I finally explained. Oh my God, Bella gasped, putting her hands over her surprised face. Oh my God. Quill, Edward, and I all just awkwardly looked at each other, or the ground, while Bella processed the new information. Is Jackie okay? Bella asked quietly. I shrugged. I don't know, but she will be. Embry is with her now, and I assume they are both still at my house. Jake, I'm sorry. You should be. I had started pacing around without even realizing it, and it helped to release some of the pent-up frustration. I happened to come close to Edward, and for a moment had forgotten that he was still here. Quill, will you walk Edward back over and then let Sam know that I allowed him to come over? Sure, Quill mumbled. Jacob, Edward called. What do you want? I turned to face him. Thank you for letting me come. You're welcome. It's time for you to go. Quill and Edward ran the other direction straight towards the border, while Bella and I just looked at each other awkwardly. Jake, what can I do? Bella pleaded. She came and took a few steps closer to me. Her arms reached out, aching to touch me, but I backed up, keeping the distance between us. I don't know, Bells. I shook my head. You assumed the very worst of me, and wouldn't even listen to me when I tried to explain. I let out a frustrated breath and continued to pace back and forth. I could see how much she regretted her assumption, but it didn't take away how badly it hurt knowing what she had thought. I know, she bit down on her bottom lip. I am sorry. I believe you, but I'm not ready for everything to just be put back the way it was. Why would you think I would ever cheat on you? I don't. There was a large fallen tree that Bella came and sat on. Obviously you did. How could you? I panicked. At first I thought you must have imprinted. It was the only logical reason that there would be another girl in your bed. I'm not justifying, but I wish that you could have seen your own face. The way you looked at her with so much love and compassion. I was so hurt, and I thought that I had lost you. The wind rocked through the trees, and the frozen branches clinked against one another. Bella shuddered from the cold and brought her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around her legs before continuing. Then to learn that it was Jackie, I just couldn't get the way you looked at her out of my head. Plus you weren't exactly wearing clothes. I went from you not having a choice, because you imprinted you couldn't help it, to you purposefully cheating on me with Jackie. Bella took a deep breath. I didn't wait for an explanation, because the truth was too scary for me. It was easier for me to think it and hope it wasn't true, than to risk you actually saying that what you did was a mistake or that you were sorry. I couldn't handle you actually confirming it. I took a moment and thought about everything that she said. I could understand what she was saying and what it would have looked like for her. I'm sure I did look at Jackie with love and compassion, but it wasn't romantic love. I do love Jackie in the same way that Quill loves you. I know that. I haven't felt jealous of Jackie in so long. I don't have a problem with you being friends with her. Well, good, I'm telling you, when she came bursting through the door of my house in the middle of the night, and I learned what she has been dealing with. Bella, I have never wanted to kill someone more than I wanted to kill her stepdad. Yeah, I'm sure. I gave Bella the remaining details of Jackie coming over in only a torn t-shirt and her running through the ice storm to get away. Bella's eyes filled with tears, and it was clear that she felt terrible for Jackie. I came and sat next to her. Bella, how do we move past this, if you don't trust me? I do, I promise, I do. No, you don't, I said sadly. You said so yourself, that this all started out of a fear of imprinting. Are you scared that I will imprint and leave you? She bit down on her lip. Yes. Then what do we do? She took my hand and held it. I don't know, but Jake, I'm willing to take that risk to be with you. I shook my head. That was a terrible solution, and I didn't want that for Bella. I just wish that you didn't have to. Me too, Bella said gloomily. Jake, is there no hope for us if you imprint? We looked intently into each other's eyes. What do you mean? I asked. I know you say that you won't have a choice about imprinting, but afterwards, is she all you are going to want? I don't know, but most likely. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer. I don't think that there has been someone who wasn't with their imprint. I saw the fear and sadness in her eyes. So I just wait around for you to leave me one day? Bella asked quietly. To hear her saying that just broke my heart. I was not able to keep her away any longer. I wrapped my arms around her, hugging her tightly to me. No, Bella. If I thought I was going to imprint, I wouldn't put you through that. Somehow that doesn't seem all that comforting, she mumbled, with her cheek pressed to my chest and her arms wrapped around my waist. I know. I rubbed her back for a few minutes in silence. The only one who has any experience with this is Sam. I'll talk to him and see if he can give me any advice. Oh, can I come? Yeah, let's go. I took her hand and we walked to Sam's. Talking about imprinting with Sam was always a touchy subject. He feels terrible for the pain that he has caused Leah. Even Emily felt some of the pain with the close relationship she had with Leah being gone. Quill and Leah had volunteered to patrol, so they were the only wolves not at their wedding. Leah was going to be there and put on a brave face, but it was later decided that her family would understand why she wouldn't be there. It was a beautiful ceremony, very simple and quick. It was a slow walk to Sam's with Bella slipping and sliding often. I completely understood why Quill had decided to carry her, but we weren't in a hurry and the slow pace allowed me to get my thoughts in order. Bells, why did you go to Quill? Not that it bothered me that she went to him, but it really seemed sort of random. It was close, and I thought I would kill myself trying to ride the motorcycle very far in this ice, especially as upset as I was. Well, that was a simple answer. What did you tell him to hide you? That you sent me over there and said for him to hide me. That is what I figured. He wanted to know why, what was going on, and asked a lot of questions, but I just kept telling him I didn't know, that you didn't tell me. I was pretty pissed at the time, and I think Quill could tell, so finally he just shut up and didn't say anything else. It was pretty slow moving, until he picked me up and carried me to the cave. We hadn't been there all that long by the time you and Edward came. Bella shook her head. I can't believe you let Edward help look for me. You must have been really freaked out. Yeah, I guess you aren't the only one who panicked. I pulled her over to my side and put my arm around her waist, and she put hers around mine. Bella and I didn't say anything else as we walked into Sam's house. Bella smiled at Emily, who was sitting at the kitchen table with a mug and bagel, and Quill, who had a huge stack of bagels. Bella made herself some tea before picking up a bagel and going to the table. Hey, Emily. I nodded my head at her. Where's Sam? He just jumped in the shower. I'm warning you, he is not happy with you. Oh, crap, I mumbled as I grabbed a handful of bagels and joined them at the table. Would it help if I talked to him? Bella asked. No, you weren't the one who let a bloodsucker onto our land. I took a big bite of the bagel and swallowed. Quill, was there a problem walking Edward back? Nah, once the border was in sight, he moved so fast I could barely see him cross it. Good deal. Sam walked in and the room got quiet and still, like a teacher returning to a guilty classroom. Emily was right. He was absolutely furious with me and yelled, cursed and threatened. I tried to explain, but he pretty much got it all from Quill, so I think he just needed to vent. I didn't mind his venting, however, I knew that it was going to make bringing up imprinting that much more difficult. Sam, I know what I did was risky, but I think you would do the same thing if it were Emily. I would never trust a leech, even if one could help you. Never. However, that is not the point, Jake. It's different with Emily. Is that because she is yours, or because she is an imprint? I knew I was treading on dangerous waters, and was really trying to be careful. Both. That is not fair, Sam, Emily countered. Her response surprised us all so much that for a moment we were all quiet. I took this opportunity to cram more bagel in my mouth and washed it down with some juice. Thank you, Emily, Bella said softly. You are welcome, Bella. I meant it. Imprinting brought Sam and I together, but it does not make me more important. Emily insisted. Well, it does to me, Sam countered. Sam, that is how it should be for you. I added. I'm sorry to bring this up, but Bella and I need to talk to you about imprinting. You are the only person I know who loved someone before they imprinted. Help us figure this out. I don't know what more to tell you, Jake. Sam shrugged. You have seen everything in my thoughts. I have only seen what you have thought about. I hated to ask this in front of Emily, but I needed to. Did you even try to fight it, to try and stay with Leah? Jake, I didn't even know what had hit me. Sam shook his head. Don't you think that Harry would have wanted me to fight it, if that were an option? Fighting it was never mentioned. I never once thought about fighting it. You know how much I hate what I did to Leah. Yeah, I know that. However, as much as I did love Leigh, Jake, I know how much you love Bella, and I didn't love her as much as you do. I look into your mind sometimes, and if I didn't know, I mean really know, what it is to imprint, I would think that you had. It was interesting to hear Sam's reaction to my love for Bella. I knew that I loved her a lot, but I hadn't really thought about what the other wolves thought of it. I agree, Jake, Quill mentioned. So does that mean he won't? Bella asked. No, Bella, it doesn't, Sam said apologetically. We were all quiet for a while, not really sure where to go with this conversation. Jake, Bella, I have a theory that might help, Quill said. What is that? I asked. One thing that I have always found interesting in looking at your mind, Quill said to me, is that you have never felt like you would imprint. I agree, Quill, Sam added. Even when I first explained it to you and was keeping you away from Bella, of course you wanted to see her, but you didn't think you would imprint on her. You didn't want to imprint on me? Bella asked, surprised. It isn't that I didn't want to. I honestly just never thought of imprinting. I probably should have, but I guess you could say that then I was indifferent to it.
Jake?
That is what surprised me. Quill continued. If you had just imprinted on Bella, then that would have solved everything. Weird that even though it would have made everything easier, I still didn't want to imprint. Yeah, so what is this theory you have, Quill? I asked. I think that a wolf knows if he is going to imprint. How would he know that? Emily asked. Just something I have observed from each of my brothers in regards to imprinting. The only one I'm iffy on is Paul, but honestly I think he will. Paul? I questioned. He rarely stays with the same girl twice. Exactly. He doesn't want to get attached. Quill continued. Even more so, he doesn't want her to get attached to him, because deep down inside I think he knows that it won't last. As for Leah, she hates it so much that it would be impossible to know what she thinks about it for herself. Embry of course thinks about it because of Jackie, but even before that he was like Jake and had no desire for it. What about me? Sam asked. I wouldn't have stayed with Leah if had I known I would leave her. I think that you did feel like there was someone out there. And since you already loved Leah before phasing, you just assumed that she would be it. And you just didn't know what to look for. We do. Not to mention being the first wolf you had a lot to deal with, going through this transition alone. What about you, Bella asked Quill. I think I'm going to imprint. Really? I've never heard you think that before. I responded. Good, you weren't supposed to. I knew that if you heard that I thought I would imprint, it would make you even more nervous than you already were. What makes you think you are going to imprint? Emily asked. That might be the other reason I tried not to think about it. It is really hard to explain. I just feel like she is out there. I can't explain it, but I just know it. Is that why you aren't dating anyone? Bella asked. Pretty much. It is one thing to have this risk of imprinting, and put someone through that when you honestly feel it isn't going to happen. But I do, and I can't put some random girl through that. So are you just going to be single until you find her? Sam asked. I don't know. I don't want to become Paul, but I haven't quite figured it out. We cannot be the first pack that has had this issue, I added. Imprinting is rare. What did these other wolves do? Just hope and pray they never imprint while they marry and start families of their own. There's got to be a better solution than that. I let out a frustrated breath. That is the other reason that my theory makes sense. Quill continued. If there was some way for the wolf to know if he was going to imprint it, it would make the risk of him starting a family much less. If that were the case, then wouldn't they have written it down or passed that information down so we wouldn't be freaking out about it now? I asked. Maybe they didn't know. Sam suggested. We have never had a pack this large before. Bella, there is something you want to ask. Emily interrupted. I have always been amazed at how perceptive Emily was, so it didn't surprise me that she could see the hesitation on Bella's face. Yeah, I know this is awkward. Sam, Emily, what would you have done if Sam had been married to Leah when this happened? Sam and Emily looked at each other, and it was clear that they didn't have a good answer. Would you have fought it then? I asked. Maybe, Sam finally answered. But I would have to see Emily regularly. I can't imagine her not being in my life at all. I can deal with that, Bella said, as she placed her hand over mine. I don't want you to have to share me, I countered. And I don't want to lose you over something that might not happen. Sharing you is better than losing you altogether. You're amazing, Bells. I love you. I lifted our hands and kissed the back of hers. I love you too. The subject felt closed, even though I am not totally sure that anything was accomplished. It is nice that me not wanting to imprint might be more than just simply being stubborn and not wanting my free will taken away. I was amazed that Quill had so much insight into the subject and hadn't talked to me about it. I understood why he didn't, but it was still very strange. One thing was determined. It was now officially an option for me to fight the imprinting, at least to the point where I could keep Bella. The worst part was not knowing what I wouldn't give for a crystal ball that would tell me what was going to happen. But even if I had one, and it said I was going to imprint, would I push Bella away now, or enjoy the time that I have with her? After we finished eating, Bella and I decided that we wanted to go check in with Embry and Jackie. Bella still felt terrible, and she wanted to speak to Jackie herself. I had no doubt in Embry's ability to take care of Dad and Jackie, but I wanted to check in on them as well. So we walked out hand in hand as we headed towards my house. Bella continued to slip and slide, so I scooped her in my arms and carried her. Thanks, I was hoping you would do that. Bella smiled. Were you slipping around on purpose? I asked. Maybe a little. She ducked her head in my chest to avoid my eyes. You could have just asked. You could have just volunteered. She smirked. True. How do you feel about the conversation with Sam, Emily, and Quill? I asked. All right, I guess. Quill had more insight than I expected, but other than that, it was what I thought it would be. It is just unknown. She shrugged. And you're okay with that? Yes. All about this morning. You do know that I would never cheat on you, right? Yes. This time I could see that she really did believe it. Even if I imprinted, I would have more self-control than that. How do you know? She asked, curious. Imprinting is powerful, and it would bind me to her. However, think of Sam. He didn't just jump on Emily on the spot. Neither did Jared, with Kim, and they were both single. Believe me, if anyone was going to, it probably would have been them. It didn't take them very long to get started, and I'm sure part of that was because of imprinting. How do you know that about Jared and Kim? That seems pretty personal. Pack mind, remember. Do you actually see them when they are doing it? I nodded my head back and forth between a yes and a no. Sometimes So you have seen Kim and Emily naked? Not as much Emily. Sam has better control, and Jared has gotten a lot better. So it is not as often as it used to be. I tried to read Bella's face, but I couldn't really see her very well. Her head was resting against my shoulder as I carried her. Does that bother you? I asked. I don't like it, but there isn't anything you can do about it. Nope, we are all used to it. Do they see what we do? Sometimes. That is really embarrassing, you know. I'm sorry, I can try to keep what we do private, but you have to know that I'll slip, and when I do, they won't care. They might give me a hard time about it, but that's all. Are they curious? Just as curious as normal friends would be. I think most of them assume that I just have better mind control, and that we already are having sex. Do you wish that we were? Bella asked. Yeah, sometimes. It is a big step, and I don't want to just because I know that others already think we are. Even both our dads think we are. Yuck. Don't say that. I could feel Bella shudder a little. Well, it's true. What about you? I don't know. It makes me nervous thinking about it, but also excited. There are times when we are together and it feels so great that I want to. Yeah, I know what you mean. We'll get there, Bella promised. I have no doubt. Well, that is good. I'll hold you to that. I smiled down at her, and she looked at me, and I realized that we haven't kissed since our big misunderstanding. I saw Bella's eyes focus on my lips, and it was clear she wanted to kiss me, but she was waiting for me to be ready. I was ready. As our lips met together, part of it was like kissing for the first time. I could feel Bella smile as our lips moved against one another. Bella licked my bottom lip, and I opened my mouth as her tongue dived in. I pressed my tongue back against her own, and we kissed as our tongues danced with one another. It was a little awkward having my arms around her shoulder and under her knees, so I shifted her so that her legs wrapped around my waist and then my hands were free to roam across her thighs and waist. Bella plunged her hands into my hair, bringing her body even closer to mine. I saw a tall, thick tree, and so I leaned Bella's back into the tree and began to kiss across her face and neck. Bella held tight to my shoulders as her center found mine and she rocked herself against me. I pushed back against her and the branches of the tree swayed, causing the ice that had hung to the branches to come crashing all around us. A.H. Bella screamed as she clutched tightly to my shoulders and ducked her head into my chest. Way to ruin the moment there, sweetheart. I laughed, despite being short of breath. I'm sorry, she laughed as well. That scared me to death. Now that would certainly ruin the moment. Bella just rolled her eyes, and I placed her back on her own 2 feet. We were almost home when we got distracted, so we easily walked the last little bit together, with our arms around each other's waist. We walked in the front door, and Dad was in the kitchen, getting some lunch. Put together, and Embry and Jackie were on the couch. Jackie had her head on a pillow that was resting in Embry's lap. He was asleep with his head leaning against the wall, his legs stretched out and his arm resting down her back. She seemed to look worse today than she did last night. The only thing better was the swelling. She could open both eyes and her lip and chin looked better. However, the bruises were more intensified, and so she was very black and purple. Bella came and knelt down on the couch and took Jackie's hand. I am so sorry. I hate what has happened to you, and I hate myself for what I thought. Thank you, Bella. Can you both forgive me? Bella asked, looking at Jackie and myself. Yes, I answered first. Of course, Jackie answered, as her and Bella hugged gently to one another. I came and stood by the couch at Jackie's feet. Do you need anything? I asked Jackie. No, I'm glad you called Embry. Is that where you went last night? I sat down on the floor and leaned against the couch. Sort of. I just wanted to check on some things from the storm and ran into Embry doing the same thing. I'm glad you didn't mind me telling him. I was a little freaked out, and it sort of slipped out. No problem. It saved me from having to do it. She smiled. Good point. Jacob, would you help me please? Dad called from the kitchen. I got off the floor and walked to the kitchen. There is some cornbread in the oven. If you'll take that out, we will have soup for lunch. Sure, no problem. I got the bread out and served the soup in bowls and carried them to the table. Bella walked with Jackie over to the table, and the 4 of us had a quiet meal, while Embry slept. Once my own stomach was full, I realized how tired I was from being up most of the night. So I grabbed an extra pillow from the closet and sprawled out across the living room floor for a nap. Jackie and Bella watched movies together, and the last thing I felt was Bella's delicate finger running through my hair. That night Bella stayed here and Jackie stayed with Embry until her mom came back home. Jackie's mom felt absolutely terrible and had no idea what had been going on. There were official charges filed against her stepdad, and it was assumed that he ran away trying to avoid going to prison. Embry and I both tried our best to reassure Jackie that she was safe and that he would never come back, and while we never told her he was dead, I kinda think she knew. The only bad part was, I think she believed that we killed him, but she didn't ask probably because she just didn't really want to know. Normally that would bother me, to have someone think I murdered someone, but if it makes her feel safe so therefore I didn't really care.